never felt like you were completely at ease. Like
Mm.
every time you went out to get on the MSR to go down Michigan to get out of the city or whatever, you always felt like it could just pop off again. Like I never felt 100% at ease in that city. It wasn't I was never scared to go out of the lines or anything. It was just like, okay, this city does not feel secure still.
Taking fire on primary and secondary positions, requesting immediate engagement and overhead control. Engage.
Hey everyone, thanks for coming back to the Not So Special Forces podcast. This is it. This is episode number 4. I'm stoked for this one. I got a great Marine that I'm going to introduce you to. His name is Cory Murphy. He is from Southern Indiana, and we have a great episode lined up for you today. Cory, welcome to the podcast. I am thrilled that you're here, man. We've been going back and forth, and just to finally sit down and make it happen, this is great, man. So thank you.
Thank you. I think we have to change the name of it after this to Not Special at All fucking podcast.
Yeah, no, it's all good, man. You know, we got to give a shout out to our mutual friend Tim Galloway. I don't think that there is anyone in the United States or the world that guy doesn't know, that can't connect people with. So again, I mean, who doesn't that guy know, right?
Exactly. He's introduced me to a lot of people, and I think I to him, but he's just a stupendous person, man. Absolutely.
Yeah. So thanks, Tim. And, we got a few more lined up because of Tim. So once again, Tim, you're a great guy, man. Keep it coming. And all the work that he's doing down there with Good Works in his company, and the way he's pouring in the community down there, and, with his efforts, that's great. So there you go. The boogie bag. So thanks, Tim.
Right,
all right, Cory. So let's talk, man. I got another Marine on the show. I've reached out to a couple of people in the Navy, Air Force, Army, and, this isn't a Marine podcast, but it's kind of shaping out like that because all of us are so quick to say yes to help each other out. So to the viewers out there, I do have some Army guys lined up. I got an Air Force guy lined up, and we have some other people lined up. It just so happens that Marines are always so quick to jump on it for each other. So thank you, Cory. Thank you. So
the podcast, right?
Yeah. So, all right, man. So what's up? You're living in Southern Indiana right now. You were in the Marines. You were in the infantry, and so let's talk about that, man. Let's talk about your childhood, where you grew up. What made you want to join the Marine Corps, man? Tell me about high school life, family life, that kind of thing.
So it's open ended as hell. You told me you're gonna throw me some open ended questions. That's very open ended. You're not wrong.
Nope.
Yeah, so I was born and raised here in Southern Indiana, I guess, like Columbus kind of area, and just from an early age, I just knew I wanted to do the military. Had no idea what. I was like late 80s, 90s childhood, so very GI Joe heavy. It was still in the days of VHS, lots of Commando, Rambo, things like that on the movies. That you still go to Blockbuster and be able to rent. So early on, it's like I didn't know what it was, but I was like, those guys right there, that's what I want to be. And it was a Marine. And then, cut to like 4th grade, and a friend of mine had brought in a code of conduct for, I don't know, prisoners of war or something that his dad had been given. And he was a Marine in like the late 70s. And he was telling me about this dude, his dad. And he's like, I said, well, where did he get that? Was he in the Army? And he's like, no, he was a Marine. I was like, the hell's a Marine? I didn't know what it was. And I was probably like 10. And he says, that's it's like the Army that the Navy has, is how he described it. Okay. It made no sense. But, and then you see G.I. Joe, and you see like Gung Ho and Jarhead and Grunt and things like this. And you're like, that's what I want to be, man. Those guys are loudmouth and they can back it up. That's what you wanted to be. And so anyway, there's one of our ums, right? And so anyway, I kind of launched into that kind of path, like following that. And that launched me into school saying, I really don't care. I just want to get through school and get out to join the Marines. And at some point, my middle school, I think, I started talking to recruiters. We had a weird recruiting station here. At one point, we had like 3 recruiters. And it's a small-ish town. It's not huge. You can ask Tim. He's been here. It's not crazy big. But we had like 3 recruiters, and they were all cool. They entertained me. They let me hang around the office. Probably got sick of me. I became like a mascot, like their dog at one point. I mean, they were just throwing T-shirts at me, just go away, kid, all this kind of stuff. And my mom was letting it happen. She was like, yeah, you just go hang out with them. I'll go shop over here at Target, and you go hang out with these guys. They're not doing any harm. Really cool. They were always open with her about, the Marines and all this stuff. And then a friend of mine started trying to talk me into the Army. And somehow by the time I'd almost graduated high school, the Army had me. And I'll never forget this. The Army had me coming in pretty frequently because the Marine recruiters had changed at one point. And I started hanging out with the Army. They're trying to get me into like the Ranger program. That was their biggest selling point. Oh, we'll get you into RIP and you'll be all right. And they're showing me the videos, the VHS, that little TV they pack around with all that, the built-in VHS.
What year was all this?
God, this is like 97, 98, somewhere in there, like towards junior, sophomore year, maybe. And they were still packing around. Like I said, this is Indiana. Maybe somebody else had DVDs by then. I don't know when DVDs came out, but I remember getting this thing, and one day I went to meet the recruiter, and the way our recruiting office was laid out, the Army was right up front, Air Force was right across from them. I don't remember them ever being there, except for a story I'll tell you about later. And then the Navy was way back in the back corner, and the Marines were kind of across from them, but just forward of them. And I'm beating on the door, waiting on the Army to show up, and they had like 10 recruiters. It was nuts, and nobody's answering. I'm supposed to meet this dude at like say 4:00. He's not there. 4:30, I'm still sitting out there. I beat on the door again, and I hear this voice in the back saying, "Hey, hard charger, what are you doing?" And I was like, and he's, "I'm talking to you up there in front." I said, "Well, I'm hanging out here waiting on the Army," and I can't remember the guy's name for the life of me. He was the recruiter that I was supposed to meet, Staff Sergeant something. And he goes,
"That was the Army recruiter that you were supposed to meet?"
Yeah, some Staff Sergeant. Right. The Marines in the back, and he goes, "Oh, Captain Video," because that's what he called him all the time, because he had a video player he carried around and did all his recruiting work with. I said, "Yes, sir." He goes, "Nah." He goes, "I'm Staff Sergeant." He goes, "You can come back here." I was like, "I'm supposed to meet him up here." He goes, "We'll hear him come in." And I'm sitting there for a minute. He goes, "I got a couch." And dude, it was like the casting couch in those bad porn movies. Like it was a hunt. I went back there and he stole my freaking soul. I'm not kidding. He knew exactly what he was doing. And it was so funny. Obviously I didn't spend much time in college, a little bit, but when he's sitting there doing the little tiles, like you guys had talked about, like laying out the tiles, what do you want to get out of life? And his office is fully decorated. I mean, he's got cami netting in it. He's got the bullet bar. He's got everything you want.
Got a couple sandbags stashed up in the corner, right?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe some dummy guns or something. Definitely a K-bar laying out. Like he knew what he was doing. And he says he's talking to me for a little bit. We were there maybe like 20, 30 minutes. And I hear somebody come in the front door, and he's like, "There's your boy." He's like, "You'll come back here." And dude, when that guy came in, he said, and the Staff Sergeant Fig was my recruiter, and really good dude. He came in and he's sitting there and he says, "Here he comes coming down the hallway." And that Staff Sergeant Army recruiter comes walking in, and he goes, "Hey Vig, man, you seen?" And he turns and looks in and sees me on the couch. And it's got to be like when you're in a dorm and you come in to find your girlfriend sitting on your buddy's couch, you're like, "Oh, I know what just happened." And he did. He straight up knew the score. He goes, "Oh, what's going on in here?" And he goes, "I was just talking to your boy about the Marines, man. I can't believe you didn't tell him about us." And he's like, "Okay." And he's like, he goes back. I go with him back to his office. And I'm like, "Good. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'm going to go talk to the Staff Sergeant again." So I go follow him back to his Army recruiting office. And we're sitting there talking, and halfway through, man, we're watching this video, and he goes, "You're going to go in the fucking Marines, aren't you?" And as soon as he said it, I said, I'm really thinking about it." He goes, "Yeah, I figured I'd lose you." And he starts trying to win me back, and I was like, "Yeah, it's just not happening, dude." I said, and
he should have shown up to his own appointment on time, man, right?
He even pulled the line. He was like, "You go in the Army, we're going to make you a Ranger." And I was like, "Yeah, but he just told me no matter what, I just graduate boot camp and I'm a Marine." Like, that's the title I wanted right there. And it kind of took me back to hanging out with the Marine recruiters. And it was the same office and everything. He just done it up. And such a great, good dude, man. He was just,
I'm a little bit confused by something. You got to help me out.
I probably bounced all over.
No. I mean, so you were hanging out with the Marine recruiters, right? And they're giving you T-shirts. They're like, "Oh, here he comes again." You're become a staple in the office, a little mascot. How the hell did you how the hell did you get involved with the Army guy in the first place?
That's what I can't recall. I know at some point a buddy of mine was he was Civil Air Patrol in 7th, 8th grade. He was Civil Air Patrol, and he showed up, and he thought he was punk. He showed up with combat boots and jeans bloused in them. He always wore a camo jacket. He thought he was somebody, and he ended up going to the Army, and to his credit, he did great things. But he was trying to talk me into the Army, and I'm like, "Dude, I'm going to go to the Marines." He's like, "Oh, go Rangers, man. Rangers is this, Rangers is that." And I'm like, "I never even heard of a Ranger. I don't know anything about that stuff. Like, I don't want to be in charge of like a forest." And we had this big discussion about it. And I tell you, Midwest kid, I didn't know shit about nothing. And he's telling me about this. And somehow I ended up talking to the recruiters with him, maybe. I do remember us all hanging out one time, like in the office. And then after that, they kind of had me for a little bit. And I don't know how that exactly happened, but I do remember going back to the Marines and being like, yeah, this is where I should have been the whole time. So yeah.
All right. So what high school? Were you jock? Anything at all?
No,
Were you
God, no.
into sports at all? Anything like that to make you want to
No.
go? No, nothing.
No, it's funny because anybody will tell you like I'm not into sports at all. Like I'll watch CrossFit competitions, I'll watch lumberjack competitions, I'll watch strongman. But when it comes to like imaginary points on the board, I couldn't give a shit less.
All right. Okay.
It doesn't matter to me. Yeah. So I was just kind of like, just one of those hit kids that hung out with my buddies and went to parties and helped work on shit. Like that was my thing. I kind of bounced around a lot of different crowds. Didn't really have a click, I guess. I don't feel like.
So after the Army guy realized that he lost you to the Marine Corps, what you committed, signed a contract, what MOS,
Yeah.
what you do, how did the whole pre boot camp thing work out for you?
For some reason, I didn't have to do the delayed entry program. Like I was in it. I put myself off. I just said, hey, I want to be home for Christmas. Like that was my main thing. Be home for Christmas with my family. I knew it was going to be bad enough with my mom, my dad leave. I come from a divorced home, like a lot of parents or a lot of kids. Both parents have remarried and I get along fine with all of them. Like I have my biological dad, who I consider my dad because he never really left me. He left my mom. And then they just didn't work out. He didn't like abandon her. And then I have my stepdad who raised me from like the time I was one and a half. And to me, he's my dad because he was always there. So I have like two dads. So it's not, if I say my dad, my other dad, it's not my gay parents. Like they're just two different dads with two different moms.
How was that relationship between the two of them? I mean, was each one of your dads, were they cool with each other? Everyone get along?
Yeah. From the time I could remember, they always got along really well and they were always really supportive. Like my dad, my biological dad and my mom don't get along for whatever reason. Like there is nothing there. And that's just kind of how that shook out. I think they came together a little bit when I was deployed later. And then that was pretty much it. It was like, there's not a whole lot of communication there, but yeah. So I go to the recruiter, basically tell him what I want to do. It was an easy sell, probably the easiest sell he ever had. Just said 0311. And like I'd heard on your previous podcast, I told him exactly, I want to shoot shit and blow stuff up. And he said, well, you got an ASVAB of, it was like 70 or 80. Like it was high enough that I could do damn near anything I wanted to do other than like nuclear or something. And I was like, yeah, no, I just want to shoot shit and blow stuff up, man. Just like movies. That's what I want to do. Like I want to run and gun and kick indoors. Not that I thought kicking indoors was a thing at that point. To me, it was either desert warfare from like Desert Storm or Vietnam is the only two things I could ever go to is my mind, right? Because that's what we were raised on movie wise. I don't even think Black Hawk Down had come out at that point. So in my head, I was like, yeah, we're just in the jungle or we're in the desert. That's all there is. Just put me out there and give me a rifle. And that's kind of what happened. They just I went 0311, straight solid 0311, ended up at SOI. Well, I don't know if we want to jump ahead or what, but ended up boot camp, golf company. I think it was 2nd Recruit Training Battalion, platoon 2138. I remember, like a lot of people, all my drill instructors.
So Southern Indiana, were you at, help me out, were you in Paris Island?
San Diego, I was a Hollywood Marine.
City? Okay.
Yeah, I still got the Ray-Bans. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, me too, man.
Yeah. And
you know what's funny? Like games.
That's right. I never got to go. I know everybody talked about baseball games, and I know, I always heard that. But then, so all you heard out of the East Coast guys were sand fleas and swamps. That's all you ever heard about. I swear to God, they would die on that sword that sand fleas were worse than anything. And I felt like boot camp was bad enough. I didn't need to sit and swap dick sizes with somebody that I don't know what they went through. I was like,
right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, our claim to fame was Mount Motherfucker, right? They got those little sand fleas that are nagging them all the time, and then here we are at Mount Motherfucker, right? So, but like you, man, I missed. But like you, man, I missed out on the ice cream in the Dodger game. So maybe we could find a Marine on the podcast that actually went to. We could talk about his experience at the Dodgers game eating ice cream. So
you hear it, I want to know if it's true because I've heard those stories several times. The only thing I do remember, I remember a lot of boot camp actually, and everybody wants to tell the boot camp stories when you get into the fleet because it doesn't really mean shit. That was your experience thus far. But honestly, one of the things I really remember was every Sunday you would, you were very devout in whatever religion you remember that you went to at some point. So I went to, I remember going to church all the time. Was totally tuned out of it. I was like, I just don't get this at all. It feels like a mega church. It was this giant, it was kind of generic because it had to be. But I remember that, and I remember reading newspapers. They would bring in a stack of newspapers on Sunday to catch up on the world, which surprised me. And then you'd have time to, polish your boots and stuff and kind of get ready because, like, right after lunch, right after chow, you were going right back to the same routine. You're going to be on the drill field. I think the rest of the day is how we did it. And this is like 2001. I went in January of '01 is when I enlisted. January, I think I was, do you go in a day before you actually EAS? So if you go in January 21st, you get out the 22nd, I think is how it works.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Like
You're
they
asking
get
the
you for
wrong
a
guy.
day.
Yeah, I'd have to.
Yeah.
I'd have to ask AI, man, or someone else, man. I can't
Yeah.
remember. I
I
mean, I
think
damn
that's what
near.
I remember. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's
I
what I
mean,
remember the drill instructor even saying, like, you're going to come in this day, you're going to graduate this day, and he even joked that the Marine Corps is going to get one more fucking day out of you. And I was like, oh, go figure. And yeah, that's what I remember.
yeah, when I learned that we were paying for our own haircuts at boot camp, I'm like, man, there ain't nothing these dudes aren't going to get out of us, man.
Dude, they knew what they were doing. And to their credit, I mean, they do it well. You think, wow, this is a hell of a deal. I just get to learn all these awesome skills that really aren't really awesome skills at boot camp, but you think they are. You think you're getting like secret squirrel high speed info. You basically think you're a Navy SEAL by the time you leave boot camp.
Yeah, I think the running joke was that they're going to teach you just enough to get your ass kicked.
Yeah. Yeah, McMap. Yeah. When they first told me that, I thought it was like Irish map reading or something. I really did. I was, what the hell's a map? And I had no idea. And then you get the little, what is it, tan belt, I think is what you start with. And you get your ass handed to you, and you learn all the warrior case studies and all this kind of stuff. And then you go through the what the hell's that called? The Crucible. Which later on down the road, I was a volunteer staff for Young Marines. I think I still am. We'll see what happens. Not that there's anything nefarious. I'm not sure if my daughter's going to stay in the program now. And I kept calling what the recruits go through the Crucible, and I'm getting in trouble because they're like, don't call it that. Like headquarters, like national headquarters will shut us down. Like it's not a Crucible, it's a Rubicon. We're going to call it a Rubicon because it's a whatever. And I was like, okay, that's fine. That's and I don't love that program, so I don't want to do anything to disparage it. Yeah, but I was like, okay, cool, we caught that.
So you go through boot camp, obviously before September 11th. You're out there in the early year of 2001, right? So you went through boot camp. You become an 0311. You're a basic infantry rifleman. Where'd you end up after boot camp and School of Infantry? Where'd you end up?
So I graduated April in boot camp. Come back home for your 10-day leave. You go back to SOI ITB down at Camp Pendleton. And you're doing camp. I kind of, real side note here, I really kind of preferred boot camp over SOI because at least in SOI they didn't hold like liberty over your head. Like the cadre there don't want to be cadre. I feel like most of them. So if they can take your liberty away on the weekend, they will. But in boot camp, you just know my life is theirs for the next 13 weeks or whatever. Like you're not getting freedom. So to me, I preferred boot camp. Get out of there. I come back on. But
we've always heard that those schools, they don't send their best. It's not like the technical schools when you're out there learning the MOSs or you're in some advanced training or anything like that where instructors matter, right? But I mean, how many times have we heard that places like SOI, MCT, and whatnot that once you've been around a little bit, you realize that the guys that are teaching those courses probably don't want to be there, but they're there for a reason.
Honestly, we had a lot of funny stories and stuff in SOI that I really did enjoy SOI. But one of the things that I really remember is our cadre were pretty solid dudes, and they were pretty straightforward. Like I ended up in guard battalion. It was like guard company or something for a while until your unit built up in SOI. And I remember breaking my rifle down on post one day because I heard this rumor that they take your firing pin away so that you're not really guarding anything. At least my rifle had a fucking firing pin, okay? Like mine had one. I checked it. But then I remember standing post one day on one of the ranges out there. They delivered us in an old ice cream truck to our post. And I remember standing on post and seeing these weird tank-like things come in. And they're registering like New York 19s is what I came out to be later. But they're registering these things, and I'm watching these things lob 40 millimeter grenades out there. And I'm watching the explosion, and I'm hearing the explosion. I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. That's something we got to be there for. Well, then later I find out that's pretty much what I'm going to be riding around in for most of my time. So go to recruiter's assistance with that same awesome recruiter. And before I forget, he actually was there to hand me my Eagle Globe and Anchor on the Crucible because he was like recruiter of the year for our region or something. And he ended up with a bunch of educators, like teachers and things. And he was like, hey, I'm going to go show him around. And he showed up, coordinated it with my mom, found out everything, shows up, and the DI is coming down and he's handing you your EGA, and you're standing in position of attention. Lee Greenwood's crooning something about proud being American and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden I hear, how's it going, Devil Dog? And I look up and I'm like, the hell are you doing here? Like, I thought I was hallucinating. I was like, why is my recruiter here? And he was handing me my EGA. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And he got to come have the Warriors breakfast with us and hang out a little bit. And then he split. And I ran into, like I said, I did recruiter's assistance with him later. Really solid dude. Stayed in contact with him for a good while, actually. Found out he was not, you never ask. Unless you ask, they won't tell you what their MOS is. Found out he was an accountant, and he was actually stationed in St. Louis. But he was he was recruiter of the year for like 3 years in a row for our region. Like, the dude was just awesome. Yeah. So then I go to, well, they tried to snag me up for, LAVs, LAR. And one of the
light armored reconnaissance.
Yeah, there you go. I guess I should break these down a little bit. And then somehow one of our cadres said, hey man, you don't want to do that. So why? He goes, that's first of all, that's not real infantry. Like, you can't call yourself an 03. Like, he was flat out telling me that this whole time. I'm like, okay, I guess. And okay, cool. Yeah, he was telling me, that wasn't real. It wasn't real infantry. And I was like, all right. So I backed out of that, and then ended up just going straight 0311. Ended up dropping to Camp Pendleton, Horno. For anybody that knows, that's like, what is it, like 3 miles down the road from SOI. So the assholes that would throw beer cans at us and heckle us when we did our little 5K hump every time, or the 10K or whatever we did that we'd have to pass by there, that's the asshole I became later. And so I turned out and to go to 3rd Battalion 1st Marines is who I ended up with, Lima Company. There was a fight for a little bit about whether I was going to be on Zodiacs or in a track, and I ended up in tracks. And from there on, I was in the back of a track most of the time.
It's funny how LAR, light armored reconnaissance, isn't real infantry, but there you are, real infantry assigned to the tracks.
Yeah, I know. Same thing. A buddy of mine, the dude I made knives with, and one of my best friends, his son recently went in. I said recently, it was about a year and a half ago at this point. He ended up in LAR. And I was trying to talk him out of it. I was like, dude, just go. I was like, you're going to have fun either way. I was like, but just go straight 03. And he ended up in LAR, and he loves it. He's like, dude, this is great. He's like, I just ride around. I don't have to wear myself out. It's fun. It's like, okay, cool. Like, your mileage may vary, man.
Yeah. So let's see. What are we, mid 2001 now? Late summer 2001?
Yeah, something like that.
All right. Yeah. So September 11th hits. We all lived through it. Entire country was affected by it, right? And where were you? What happened? How'd you guys find out about it? What was the word?
I ended up in guard again. We were waiting on our, because everybody's clapped and capped out around camps. So I was waiting on my unit to be built up. I was in, like I said, Lima Company 3-1, and hanging out in the guard platoon or whatever company. I think it was platoon, actually. And they would just put us in various places. And I just got off post one night. And like, first thing in the morning, you'd come off post, you do your guard stand down thing. They walk you through, and they're basically checking, to see if there's anything that happened, anything crazy, whatever, do the stand down thing or whatever. They say, okay, your guys are clear, go back to your room. So I go back to my barracks, hanging out up there. And I probably hadn't showered and been asleep 5 minutes. And somebody's beating on my door. If you lived in the barracks, those heavy metal doors take a hell of a beating. I mean, and that's without drunk Marines beating on them. Excuse me. And just somebody's beating on my door. And so, what's going on? And they said, hey, turn on your TV. Missiles are hitting the World Trade Center. What? And, first of all, I don't know where the hell the World Trade Center is. Had no idea what it was. Why are people shooting missiles at us? And why do I care? I'm on guard in Camp Pendleton. I have no idea of any of this, like none of this. And I was like, yeah, okay. And I rolled back over, and they come back around and beat on the door again. Hey, get up, get your shit. You need to go back down to the guard shack. I'm like, what? somebody's shooting missiles at the guard shack now? Like, what is going on? So, seriously, I couldn't understand what my role in this was at this time. So I get up, I'm getting showered up. I turn my radio on. I had like an AM FM like kind of boombox thing, and I turn it on because I didn't have cable at the time. It was just me in the room. Turn on the radio. I'm listening to it, and of course, pandemonium. And at the time, nobody knew what was going on, so a lot of misinformation already on the radio. Get my shit together, eat feet down to the guard shack, and I pretty much lived there for the next 2 weeks and never got to leave to go back to my barracks. Like I was just stuck there. We were doing everything from, if anybody remembers this, They sandbagged the top of the chow hall. I think they put a 50 cal up there at one point on top. Like they hardened the top of the chow hall and had a 50 up there. We had checkpoints in and out of Horno, standing guard, for like a week or so. I don't think it went a full 2 weeks, but we stood guard like constantly. You were just constantly on rotation. Nobody knew what was going on. And then everybody was glued to the TV. I believe it was Fox News at the time was kind of what everybody was kind of tuned into. I think that's kind of where they rose to prominence maybe. And we were just tuned into Fox News for like the next week, like solid. And then after a while, everybody kind of settles back down and you're watching MTV and whatever other horse shit we watch. And then we didn't know where we were going to go. And then we start building up. We do what is it? Is it McCree or McChris? When you start doing your workups, go on deployment, did a Westpac, ended up all over getting trained with a lot of cool people. Jordanians are a disorganized bunch. And I think the average age of them at the time was about my age now. Their military was like anywhere from like 30 something to like 50, what most guys were that we trained with. Spent a lot of time in Australia.
What are they? Are they all old age conscripts or what?
I don't know if it was conscripts or was it Infinite Moonlight, I think. Was that Infinite Moonlight? I think it was in Jordan that we did. We did some kind of like operation with them. We did, then you were constantly doing the stuff on the workups, like 29 Palms. We were doing CACs. We did, what else did we do? Because you guys were talking about it, so I don't want to beat all this stuff into the ground because most of this stuff been talked about. And I don't know. We had so much fun training, and then you have to do your time on ship for like what is it, like a week or something? Do your float, and then they come back. You go on your leave. You come back from leave, and then all of a sudden you're being deployed. And we did our, like I said, Westpac. We hit Hawaii several times. We did. Here's a big one. So I don't know. I had it written. Go ahead.
Yeah, hold on. So when you guys pumped out for a Westpac, were we already kicked off in Afghanistan? I mean, did you guys have any intention? I mean, were you thinking that you were deploying over to Afghanistan or Iraq at this time or no?
We didn't really. I don't remember that even being a thing because for the most part, we were watching a lot of movies and a lot of other things. So I don't even know that Afghanistan was on my radar at that point. I'm sure, like, what is it? The horse soldiers. I'm pretty sure they were over there maybe at that point. But okay. I know our Westpac. We had a terrorist attack on my Westpac, and it was in Falaka Island off the coast of Kuwait. And if you look it up on like Wikipedia, there's like a small footnote about it. Like it's Falaka Island, and it was two terrorists attacking the beach that we were all chilling on because we were doing mount training. We were waiting on helos to come in to do some fast roping. The helos got called off for whatever reason. So they just said, hey, until we figure out what's going on with the helos, everybody break for chow. Some guys went off and did a baseball game. Some guys were over here just chilling on the beach. I was one of the guys chilling on the beach because, as we said before, I don't give a shit about sports. So I'm over there just hanging on the beach, eating an MRE. Beautiful beach, by the way. It was awesome. And as we're doing that, we start hearing gunfire popping off. Well, we got BFAs on our weapons. Like there is no live ammo on this beach that we knew of. Well, there was the box. What is it? 5.56 comes like 2,000 rounds in a crate, I think. There was one crate of safety ammunition. It was never unboxed. It was sitting in the hooch with headquarters. The headquarters guys all had 9mm safety ammunition in their pistols. They all, so like I said, shots were fired. We didn't know what was going on. We thought maybe it was just so damn hot it was finally cooking off rounds. We didn't know what was going on. What the hell is that? Because we marched through the city, like they landed a little LST type thing. We got off, we marched through the city, and we'd been there for like a day already at least, or a night for sure, because we woke up there. And the next morning, after like around lunch, is when they hit us. And two dudes, I don't remember what they ever figured out they were. I looked it up at one point, and they actually got the guy that masterminded it in like a drone strike. Anyway, these dudes come out with like a little like Datsun Toyota type pickup truck, start pulling out AKs. So they weren't doing mag reloads. They were just grabbing different firearms and just started spraying into the buddies of mine out there playing baseball. Killed my counterpart from the second fire team, the other saw gunner. They killed him, Antonio Sled, and then they wounded our platoon radio operator. I think he ended up losing a bunch of use of one of his arms because it like one of the rounds went through his forearm and out the back of his tricep.
Mm.
Anyway, headquarters platoon with 9 mils located, closed with, and destroyed these motherfuckers with pistols. Like charged and just fucking took them down. Like 3 or 4 of them. 3 or 4 headquarters took out 2 of these dudes. And then they take us back on ship on an LCAC, which was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in the Marine Corps. We hear this thing coming. Like I remember throwing the smoke grenade. We got Sled's body out. We got Simpson out, was the radio operator. Got those guys back to Camp Doha at the time, is where they expelled us. We're sitting on the beach waiting for our pickup, right? Like we're waiting to be evac. And they said, hey, the Navy's coming to get us. This LCAC rolls up on the beach, drops the little ramp up front. I don't remember what the guys were. They were like a boarding team that was on every ship you went on. Shout out to the guys on the Denver, because these guys came up there ready to hit the beach like it was Omaha. They come running out. They've got like an MP5, a shotgun, maybe an M16 or 2, and there was like 5 of them. And they were wearing everything in the Black Hawk catalog, and their Navy like blue on blue coverall things. And they're like, "Hey, we're here to help you guys." I'm like, "Hey, we've got the beach." At this point, they've already passed out all the safety ammo. I had a saw with a 10-round stripper clip in a mag fed in the side. And we're all just waiting on a counterattack. We pick up, get on the LCAC. They drive us back to the Denver, get us in the well deck. I can't remember if he was a gunning or first sergeant at the time. Wayne Hertz. He goes running in. He said, "Hey, let's see if they're cool with us getting back on the ship." Comes back out after it felt like an eternity. We're in a well deck in the LCAC, just sitting there, just in the dark. Like, what the hell are we doing? And finally, he comes back. He goes, "Hey, they're shooting some kind of documentary. We absolutely cannot get off the ship. They're going to take us to another camp. So we're going back and hitting mainland." Took us back to Kuwait. We spent like the next, I want to say it's 2 or 3 days at Camp Doha. And, you had your little card, your little ATM card. You could buy whatever you wanted to buy. We were hitting the PX every day. I bought a new GPS. Like I was going crazy buying stupid shit because I thought I was never going to see civilian life again. And then we had to, a bunch of spooks came in and interrogated us about what we seen, what we remember, and kind of built a case off that. And like I said, it's just a footnote in Wikipedia now. Like you don't hear anything about it at all.
So any on that deployment, anything? I mean, you guys had some losses there with that one attack on the beach. Anything else significant? Anything? I mean, did you guys just finish out the rotation, head back, or what?
Normal Marine Corps shenanigans. Dudes climbing the anchor line, the mooring line on the ship in Bahrain. Great debauchery in Australia. I mean, just everything we did was just fun. It was a good time. Opened up your eyes a little bit,
Yeah.
But yeah, just and then just that, and then you'd come back, and then it was now we're coming to work up, and I feel like we were on our 30-day leave, because you get 30 days or something like that when you hit
This was after
the Westpac.
This was after you guys got back? Okay. So you guys get back.
Yeah.
You had leave, and then what? They threw you back into another workup, another rotation?
Well, I remember being on leave, and I get this call from somebody, and I think my mom answered, and she's like, "Hey, it's John." Okay. Everybody knows like 5 Johns. So I think it's my buddy I hadn't seen yet. And I get on the phone there, and I was like, "Hey, what's up, fucker?" And he goes, "Murph, John Chow, your XO." And I was like, "Sorry, sir." Like instantly. And he goes, "I probably should have identified myself on the phone better." He goes, "Don't worry about it. He's cool. Really cool dude. He was from Hawaii. He was one of our officers. Just awesome." And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "You're on leave, man. Chill out." He's like, "Hey, when are you scheduled to be back?" And I figured out at that point that my plane was supposed to land the day after our leave was supposed to end. So I'm like, "Oh shit, I'm in a heap of trouble." Like I'd never been in any kind of trouble. So I was like, this gonna suck. Other than like I got snagged by San Diego PD once for whatever, drinking underage at the A&W at the airport. So I was like, all right, cool. I was like, man, I'm really in trouble. And he starts telling me, he goes, "Just make sure you're back. I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it with the headquarters platoon." It's like, all right, cool. Get back. So I said, "Hey, what's going on that this is such a big deal?" He goes, "Just watch the news. You'll see." And then about that time, you start hearing, President Bush, I think at the time, was making this kind of saber rattling with Saddam, like, "Hey, we're coming to get you if you don't straighten up." And then we started our workups and all that stuff, and flew through. Like, because luckily we were already pretty much ready. We were on a Westpac. Like we were ready. So we lost some guys. We gained some guys around that time. Got them up speed. And this is probably late 02, something like that. So we kind of knew it was coming, and we're trying to do a quick workup.
Are you fully vested? Are you fully motivated? Are you fully committed? Are you learning everything you can to be, I don't know, the best grunt you can be, the best rifleman, the best guy in the track that you can be? I mean, were you able to pick up any other side specialties at all? Did they teach you anything else or, like, I mean, because I kind of feel like we might have lost a little bit of time here or talking about some of the
Sure,
stuff
we
that
did.
happened on
I
deployment.
know I'm hitting the wave top. So
No, it's all right.
yeah, yeah. That's why I told you you're gonna have to fill in some stuff because I'm hitting the wave tops and anything else just feels like fluff to me. Like it was my life. That's not a big deal.
It's all good.
But yeah, so I took some basic stuff. Went to some like improvised explosives courses and things like that they would put on like hit pocket classes. They would send me. I would go learn it and bring it back to our platoon or something. And it
Okay.
wasn't like a formal course. I went to mount instructor course. I got pulled out of that early. Oh, here we go. That's something I forgot. I'm glad you brought this up. So as we're doing this, I was tapped by Sergeant Anderson, who was our company. Oh, he was our company armor. He was our armory custodian. So he was a grunt, but in the rear, he was the armor. So when you go to the field, he's back to being a grunt, but he's an armor in the rear. And he comes up and he's like, hey, how would you feel about being in the armory? And I said, the hell's that? And he goes, it gets you out of all the bullshit and you're surrounded by weapons. All what? He's like, yeah, the guy that when you come to the window, I'm the guy that hands you the weapon. I'm like, yeah, dude, that sounds like a blast. So they're training me up for this, but at the same time, I'm still kind of with the platoon doing the workup. And I'm supposed to go, or on the way back actually, because he said, hey, on the way back from float, you're gonna come with me. I'm gonna pull you into headquarters platoon. You're gonna be with me. Well, as we're doing that, then that stuff pops off. Now I'm kind of in headquarters, but they're kind of trying to hold me in first platoon. I'm kind of back and forth. And it's kind of like a power struggle because they're like, you're still here, Anderson, you're not going anywhere. We're keeping Murphy. Well, then they finally won the battle. They like, hey, you're coming here. So we get to Kuwait. Like we do all the workouts. We get to Kuwait on the little whatever the hell that was it camp. I can't remember what it's called. I want to say it was like Camp Freedom or something like that. I don't know. It was right there on the line, and we just held the line. It was like when Bush came on and said, "Hey, you got 72 hours to stand down, or we're coming across the border." Like that's where we were. We didn't know if we were going to get Amtrak because they hadn't shown up yet. Our reservists that we were going to get as Amtrackers, their tracks hadn't shown up. So we thought we were going to go in on 7 tons, and we rigged up this way, and you've probably seen it since, where they took engineer tape, mule tape, and tied the doors. So when you drop the back of the 7-ton, it became a ramp and you could slide out of it. So instead of like dropping it, jumping out, killing your knees like you're going to do anyway in the infantry, you're sliding down a ramp. It was kind of cool. I was a saw gunner, so I was like, yeah, I really appreciate that. The dude that took my place, Guzman, I have no idea what happened to this guy. Guzman was sliding down and he caught his thumb between the truck bed and the tailgate and broke it. And they're like, yeah, you're not going into Iraq with a broken thumb. So they medevaced him, sent him back to Germany, pulled me back into first platoon. So now I'm the saw gunner again. I'm out of headquarters platoon. So I go do the full invasion, march up to Baghdad and back as a saw gunner with first platoon, kicking indoors, a lot of times kicking indoors as a point man with a saw, which is a no-no. But you do it because that's what you had. We would just drive the tracks up, unass in some small town, go clear the town, get back in the track, drive on to the next town until, you would go to like Nasiriyah or Baghdad or someplace like that. And then we would start herringboning out and doing picket lines. Yeah.
Okay.
Probably skipped over a lot. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it did. It's all right. We'll come back to it. So, all right. So, second workup, you guys are on the way. Any definite plans for getting into the shit?
Yeah. Like I said, at the time, the goal was taking Baghdad.
Right.
We didn't take any casualties on the way up. Some small firefights, engagements. I remember being there when Dowdy was relieved on the bridge. If you watched, the hell's it called? I was telling somebody about this the other day. Generation Kill.
Yeah.
The first recon was attached to us, right? Like first Marine Division. So we were there for all that. Like, so running across I don't know if they showed this in the show, but running across a minefield at one point because we were told there was air inbound. So we had to get out of our tracks and our Humvees and everything and bail. I remember carrying around these stupid pigeons and chickens as early detection for gas.
Yeah, for the chemical warfare shit.
Yeah. Did you have any of that?
No, not with what I did. No.
God, we had these stupid, and I remember having them in the Humvee, and I'm like, every time we would stop, headquarters guys would pull these things out and set them on the hood to get some fresh air, and to be there as a detection. But we were in the back of an Amtrak, and honestly, I liked it because as a saw gunner, For anybody that doesn't know, the Amtraks have, well, they're AAVs, whatever, but they had these top hatches that would like pop open and it exposed everybody underneath. And I would stand up there on the benches. So my buddies had a little more room because they were, they were all sitting down and I'm standing facing outward. I was an air sentry and I loved it because you're just watching the desert roll by, you're getting air. It was way better than sitting down there smelling each other's farts and being in the dark and hating life. So that was kind of my experience up and back. But yeah, as far as getting into the shit, well, I think we were all ready. I mean, everybody pretty much was kind of, I don't want to say bloodlust, but we all had a reason to fight at that point because obviously one, 9/11, two, we had experienced our first KIA on Falaka Island. So we were kind of looking for some payback.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And understandably so, right? So what was, what was daily life like for you there when you guys made it over?
It was 100% just get up. You would just drive to the next little town. And we were all wearing, if anybody remembers, like I said, the show, but in real life for sure, we were all wearing the green on green NBC suits, wearing those stupid rubber boots that went over the mop boots that went over your regular boots. I believe we were told to kind of go slick. So everybody was wearing like silkies or underwear under their Kim suits. Nobody wore their full camis because it's too fucking hot. Now, we carried that stupid Saul gun, the Saul A barrel with the A bag that was rubberized. It was that really shitty Gumby material and not the cool nylon one later. That thing slung around. I never could get it to fit right. And your A gunner was definitely not going to carry it because he wasn't a real A gunner. He was just a rifleman that would take over if you fell. It was so crazy. I remember thinking that there was so much shit that you were told that ended up kind of being, like there was no A gunner. Nobody carried your ammunition for you as a Saul gunner. You weren't a 240 gunner. Nobody took pity on you for that. The A barrel was yours to deal with alone. What else? There's something else. I just remember like, man, this is bullshit. And that those boots had no tread. They had these like dots, like a shower curtain. And I remember not having any real tread. And I seen so many dudes try to jump trenches and end up in the shit that was down below, like those open sewers, because there was no traction. I don't know who designed those boots. I hope they're fired or passed away at this point. I'm telling you, those were straight trash. But daily life, like I said, it was basically just get in the vehicle, drive to the next town. We had an objective every time that we would go to. I remember Nasiriyah, we were set to put in a picket line.
Well, how many guys were rolling town to town? I mean, was it just one platoon? Do you guys have a squad, or
was it our entire first Marine division? I mean,
it was a whole division.
Yeah,
okay, all right.
Yeah, it was the whole division was online. I don't know how we fanned out, depending on the terrain and maybe the towns. But maybe the company would hit this town, and maybe a platoon would hit this one. If it was small enough, we'd fan out a little bit. But the idea was to take ground all the way up until Baghdad, and then when we get to Baghdad, it was like at the time, and I remember going back later to Iraq, and I remember this being a stark contrast, is they wanted you there. Like there was 100% when we rolled into Iraq, there was that kind of like you see in Band of Brothers, right? Like they're tearing up money with pictures on it. No Saddam, Mr. Give Me Chocolate. All the cool stuff. You weren't seen as a conqueror, you were a liberator, and they were happy you were there. It changed a lot later on my second deployment, but for the most part, they wanted us there the first tour.
How was the battles? How was the gunfighting? How was the engagement? Was it constant, sporadic? Were you guys here or there, or was it just a constant a single-sided ass kicking?
Yeah, it was kind of a single-sided ass kicking on the way up. I remember at one point before we crossed, I don't remember what river it was. It was on the way up to Baghdad. I remember we took mortars and we're in the tracks. They had us button up. They had taken the bridge or something happened. The bridge wouldn't hold us or something. So the idea was we were going to actually float across the river and get whoever was on the other side lobbing mortars at us. Turns out it was a soccer stadium. Once we got over there, we rolled up, popped everything out. We got out. There was a soccer stadium, and man, it was like they had just left. Like tubes were still smoking, things were set up, vehicles were running, uniforms were discarded in this little soccer stadium, right? Like it wasn't a giant stadium. It was just like a high school football stadium we would have here. And of course, no sign of the enemy. And we're like, well, at this point, we got them on the run. There's nothing left. We're not worried about anything. We exfil after Baghdad. We popped back to Diwania. And it's funny because I remember we were talking about you guys were talking about dysentery on one of your other podcasts. And I remember at one point, somebody brought the water buffalo out and they had the top hatch popped with a brick to allow airflow. and they were filling the water. Water treatment guys are doing their thing. Corpsmen dig the slit trenches, and all of a sudden, corpsmen are have to dig more slit trenches and get Marines to help them dig the slit trenches because some jackass propped it up with a brick. Flies are going in there, dying. They've been eating our shit. Now all of a sudden, we're all sick, you know. So it
Everyone
became
else is sick.
from always, man. It went from Camp Diwania to Camp Diarrhea, and I remember when they got us on the bus, when they got us on the bus to get us out of there, somebody shit themselves waiting on the bus. Like it was like they couldn't even hold it that long. They're like, we are dying here. But we sat there. I wish I knew how long we really sat there for, but it was at least a week. And we actually set up our tents. You know, when you get those damn Eureka tents that you're issued, I thought we'll never use them. They actually let us pop them up, put cami nets on them. As before I forget too, our platoon commander was you probably had when you were in, your commandant was probably General Jones. I'm guessing.
No, I had Gray, Monday.
Okay.
Yeah, Gray was my first one, Monday, and I got the face of the third one there. Yeah. Give me a second. It'll come back, man.
Krulak?
I was
Is it
expecting to
Krulak?
be challenged like that. Krulak. No. Krulak was no. In fact, I got a crazy story about Krulak. Before I moved into the wing, we were doing a workup with the MEU, and I was at Camp Lejeune. We were out at Hospital Point, and I was part of we're doing a fourth command element, like a practice, like a NEO, like a non-combatant evacuation operation. It was part of the 2-6 MEU workup, and I'm not sure if I still told the story on the other podcast or not, but I'm like loaded down. I got like a Prick 77, a PSC-3 Charlie, KY, crypto gear, you know, I got batteries, I got everything, and like all 5'6" of me, man, probably 130 pounds at the time, man. I'm just struggling with all this shit. And, yeah, man, I think it was then Colonel Krulak, man, saw me walking towards the door, get my ass kicked. You know, and he held it. This was probably like 92, maybe 1992 or something, man. He held the door open for me, man, you know, and I wasn't sure what to do, if I needed to stop and salute or anything, but he just said, keep on going. You know, he was a really nice guy, and he ended up hanging out. And I ended up running into him years later when we were in Sigonella. Maybe it was Sigonella, Sicily, man. You know, but yeah, Krulak guy's a badass. He was definitely a Marine, man. But yeah, I forget, I wish I wasn't going to be challenged like that, but we had, Gray, and then Monday, and then I'm trying to think of the last one we had. So before I got out, so
Monday, at some point, I read something about him. He had this quote that I was like, dude, that is a solid. Was he the one that got he was like the first one to get his picture in his camis as the commandant picture?
oh yeah,
Was that him?
no, man, Gray
No?
had his. Yeah, in fact, I think
Maybe that's
Gray
what I'm
had
thinking
his.
of.
Yeah, I think Gray had his with the white T-shirt underneath, man. Because I think
Okay.
there was some bullshit story I remember hearing about somehow one of the commandants was invested in Hanes. So he went ahead and made everyone got out of the white T-shirts into the green ones. I mean, I joined before the name tapes and everything. We were just iron on the Eagle Open anchor onto the the woodlands and all that. And then I think it was after Gray, bullshit story about some commandant, board of directors for Hanes or something like that. That's why we went to the green T-shirts to up his profit. I mean, I'm sure it was bullshit, but yeah, but Gray definitely had his official CMC picture in camis. Hell yeah. In fact, I think they were salty as hell in a brand new cover on too, just to give a little thumb up to everybody.
Maybe that's the one I'm remembering. Yeah.
I'll have to find it, man. Take a look. Maybe I'll cut it into the podcast, man. But
Yeah,
I remember,
because
yeah,
that's interesting. I know, like I said, General Jones was a commandant at one point, and his son was our platoon commander. A lot of the guys that we had on float changed out, right? So like you
Okay.
had a whole different set of leadership going up. Now not the higher ups, like Major Reed, who was Captain Reed at the time. He was our platoon or company commander. It changed over to Willie Buell later for our second deployment, and we had Lieutenant Jones started out as our platoon commander. He ended up as our XO when we went back over for the second tour. So a lot of these guys kind of stair-stepped their way up. They stayed around. Just, I mean, really solid dude. He's like I said, his father was the commandant at one point, so he had a lot of sway. So he came to see us off we had a warrior night. I think it was our second tour. I think it was when we went back over to Iraq the second time. We had a warrior night on the beach there in like Onifre, and
Okay.
he came out. He had Arlie Ermy came with him.
Jeez.
And dude, it was crazy. I've got a picture, not this canteen cup, because this is like a canteen cup they gave us at our reunion. But I have a picture of me in my canteen cup and a boonie and my skivvy shirt. and I'm hammered. You can tell I'm sitting there with the former commandant who hadn't yet became West Pacific Allied Commander or whatever the hell General Jones was later, but he was kind of in that transition. So when he brought Ermy with him, I've got pictures of me with each of them individually with a canteen cup, looking standing tall before the man. I was drunk as shit, and but yeah, so there was a lot of fun stuff in there too.
Cool.
But
Cool.
General Jones, man, yeah.
So what's the all right, let's back up a little bit, man. I want to try
Okay,
to
I'm all
close
over the
things
place.
up.
I'm sorry.
It's all good. All good. Maybe I want to see. So you guys are in Iraq, right? First tour, right? Still, right? So we eventually get control of Baghdad. How long were you there for? How long were you in Iraq for that first go around after fighting the way into?
Want to say it was from crossing the LOD to exfil was maybe 5 months. If that sounds right, I might be counting the time on ship too, because we floated over in the Bonhoeffer Shard is what we flew up. We took off to get there, which later caught fire and went down.
Now, were you guys in motion the entire 5 months, or was it, or like after you made your way into Baghdad, were you guys setting up shop in an old palace or an old government building and just running security? I mean, what was, after you guys hit Baghdad, what was your unit doing?
No, we set up there for a while because, like I said, we were like, one of the first in. So once we set up there, we took over a construction, like a supply yard. And I remember it being so weird because I was like, these fuckers are creative. They had this giant brick wall, because you remember all like the brick and stuff, not brick, but like the mud walls that they built over there. Like everything was fortified. Man, like these guys are ready to fight. Like our shitty houses are made out of like drywall and two before. Like if you went to war in this house, we're done. Like you throw a satchel charge in here, 0351s, I know they're gone now, but they would level this house in no time. There, man, some of that stuff's fortified, and that's just their day-to-day dwellings. But I remember they had this wall that went around this like construction supply yard, and they had like a guardrail like we would use here on the side of the interstate, like the galvanized guardrails. They had that around the top of it instead of fencing, and it had like a gap of maybe like 10 to 12 inches or something under it. And that's what we would stand post on. We pushed some scaffolding and we set up there and we would stand post there. And I want to say we were there for like maybe 4 or 5 days. And we met this really cool farmer on the other side that owned he was in town, but I guess from what he said in our shitty way of trying to understand him was he ran a shop, like a general store type thing there in town, a grocer. And he would go get stuff and bring it to us, like chopped up vegetables. And I'm just thinking the whole time, Smith was our later, he was in first platoon with me. He was like a perpetual PFC. Like he was never going to make weight. He was a solid dude. He just didn't buy into the Marine Corps stuff. Like he was, and not to get political at all, but you can kind of guess where most people's political leanings are in the Marine Corps. He was anti everything we were. Like it was so fun to mess with him on some levels. And then you would sit and try to figure out what made him tick. And he kind of disappeared after this a couple of elections ago. He just pulled himself off Facebook and he disappeared. So anyway, he was there and he kind of conversed with this shopkeeper, and he got this dude to bring like a plate of vegetables up. And this dude like brought like a small ladder and was handing them up to us. And I'm like, Smith, dude, if we eat this stuff, like it was like fresh bell peppers and I want to say tomatoes and something else. And I'm like, dude, I don't eat that stuff at like In-N-Out, like from E. coli fears. Like you're going to eat this shit here. What do you think they're washing it in? And he brought it out and finally I ate like one piece of green pepper to shut him up. I don't know that guy ever got sick. So either he had the stomach of a goat, or it was just really cleaner than we thought. But I remember eating that. I remember that's a core memory for me. But like I said, once we pulled out of there, it was back to Diwania, and we were on like maybe 50 or 75% watch most of the time. And then we just left. But there wasn't a whole lot of action. I mean, there was a lot of kicking indoors, a lot of maybe some unknown. I remember engaging some, we weren't sure if they were enemy. This is kind of something that I'm struggling with a little bit is I was kind of ordered to shoot at a crowd that was coming towards the city in Nasiriyah, and I'm not sure that their intent was totally hostile.
And you were still a saw gunner at the time, right? With the M249?
Still a saw gunner at this point. I think we had trying to think of what the site was I had. It was a night site because we set in at night, like early in the morning, nighttime. It was like 2 or 3 a.m. or something. Oh, fuck. I guess I should tell this. Okay. This is something see, this stuff gets me going. Sorry. We were told in Nasiriyah, weapons free. If it moves, kill it. Right. That's what you're told. They'd already dropped leaflets. They'd been warned. Nasiriyah, we're coming through and we're coming hot. Get out. So everybody that was supposedly friendly was thought to be out of there. So you set in at night, the tracks do the herringbone thing on each side of the road. We kind of line up in between them in our platoons, just laying just on the prone. And, just like in helicopters, when you get out of the helo, you're told you unass, you settle in somewhere, you do a tight 360, whatever, a school circle type thing facing outbound, and then you wait, because after that commotion settles down, you got to like see what's out there. So we're all settled in and nothing's moving for a while. And I'm laying there with, I think I had NVGs, but I also had that a night sight on my saw, and it like mounted on the feed tray up top. And I want to say it was like a PVS 13 or something, maybe. Giant sight, not quite like Starlight scope from Vietnam, but it was this big dumb thing. And it sucked. So I just remember laying there and I see something and I see movement like maybe 75 to 100 yards out behind these carts. And I tell them, and they're like, light them up. So everybody's shooting here and there sporadically up and down the line. And I just, 3 to 5 round burst or 5 to 6 round burst, whatever, two or three times.
Was there, and were you guys already engaged in another gun battle when you noticed these people, or was it all quiet?
No, well, like I said, no, all up and down the line, everybody was kind of engaging their own targets.
Okay.
If they seen movement, of course, this is, it's nighttime and they're just like, if it moves, kill it. So we just start shooting shit. I don't want to say aimlessly, willy-nilly. You're supposed to ID your targets.
Of course.
But again, if it moves, kill it. So we do. Later, we're laying there, no movement the rest of the night. Sun comes up, we go out and we, all online go out and we're ready to engage again, but also do recon from what we just shot up that night or that morning before. I go out there and my buddy, I don't even remember who it was either Smith or Elkert's having like one hell of a belly laugh. And I'm like, what's going on? He said, hey, I found your fire team behind these carts. And it was like 3 donkeys. And I just lit them up. And I was like, and you can kind of laugh about it, but at the same time, I feel bad about it, man. Those donkeys were in the wrong place, the wrong time. It just sucked. And I remember being like pretty stick over it. I was like, dude, I did not mean to kill a fucking donkey or 3. It was not intentional. It was just a thing that happened.
Yeah.
But now some people look at them and think they were crew served. So maybe it's okay. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a reminder of the effectiveness of the 249, right? I mean, you don't need a reminder if you're dropping 3 donkeys in a 3 to 5 round burst.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, man. I remember, and then we got back, online, and I don't remember, like I said, I don't remember most of this stuff, but I remember like the Jessica Lynch thing was a thing that happened in Nasiriyah, and I can't remember if that was after us or before us, but I remember we got back on the tracks, we split, got on down the road, like I said, probably hit a couple more towns, hamlets, whatever, ended up Baghdad, like I said, settle in that construction thing, and then come back, and then Diwania, and then we were out. That's what I remember pretty much my rack. Like, I mean, my memory is so shitty because it was like 1,000 years ago now too. But.
What about any tough losses you guys endured that you can remember that you want to talk about? Any guys you want to mention?
Rack the first time, I feel like it was pretty. I don't want to say non-eventful, but as far as any kind of real losses, no, I don't remember anything up there, KIAs or anything.
Okay, good.
Because, like I said, we had our first one on our float, so nothing there.
So you guys finish up, you punch out, you go back home. How long were you down for?
From Iraq the first time, I don't really recall. It was long enough for everybody to get out, do another workup. What was that? It was 02 was Flock On. That was Westpac. 03 was OIF, and then 04. Let's see. I'm trying to think of how this went. I don't know. I know we went back to Iraq the second time. Maybe late summer of 04.
4? Okay. Late summer of 04?
Yeah, something like that.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Late summer of 04, early fall, maybe.
Now, how'd you guys make it out there? Did you make out there with another Mew, or did you fly, or
how did that? Tour? Yeah. No. We flew out there the second time, I believe, and I don't remember what camp we landed in. Because you guys were throwing out stuff on it. Like I said, I'm so jealous because he remembers all that stuff. TQ and all that stuff. I'm like, I remember those names, but I can't tell you what we did there. And so at this point, I'm back in the armory. Like, they grabbed me back and they're like, okay, you're going to the armory. Okay, cool. And at this point, I grabbed my buddy Johnny because I'd went through 2 other armors. I was still a Lance at the time, and we had to have an NCO in there.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. I mean, with you being pretty salty now, a couple deployments on her. Yeah, I was wondering if you went up for a promotion board or anything. If you had picked up if you picked up corporal at all, or just going to be a terminal Lance this whole time.
Oh, I wanted to. I honestly, I was telling my daughter this the other day because she struggled a little bit with the young Marines, thinking she wasn't ready for promotions and things. And I struggled with it too because I'm like, I'm not ready for that. I don't want to do that. Like I wasn't in, like I just wanted to be the ground pounder, shoot shit, blow stuff up the whole time. I didn't want any of that. And I kind of put it off for a long time. And with as a lance corporal, you got a little bit of something, but really at the end of the day, it's landing gear on your mosquito wings. Nobody gives a shit. You can be head of the working party. That's about it. I did that. I remember I was still a lance when we went back to Iraq the second time. Never gave a shit about promotion. Didn't do the hell of those books that we had to do, the MCIs. I didn't do
Yeah.
those like I was supposed to, I'm sure. So I would do them here and there, but I was like, that's bullshit. It's stuff we learned in SOI and boot camp. Who cares?
Were those all
You
online
know?
for you guys at the time? The MCIs?
No, we were
or
still
no?
rocking the big red books, the big
Oh, were they?
yeah,
Okay,
was
wow.
it 8x11s or 711s or something, whatever they were. Yeah,
Yeah.
we still had those. I think
Okay.
you could do them online. I think they were trying to bring it in to the mainstream, but really, if I was
Yeah.
online, I was on America Online doing ASL on chat or something.
Yeah, I got out in '99, man, and those MCIs were still the red book that'd show up in the yellow manila
Shrink
folder
wrap.
and
Yeah,
all that. So yeah. That's wow. That's
that's
I'm
way
trying to
back,
think of
right?
all the crazy MCIs we used. Math for Marines, checking for Marines, all
We used to
the
joke about
leadership
those,
and
right?
all
Math
that.
for
Oh,
Marines, yeah.
God. Yeah.
And land
Yeah.
nav, you do land nav. I'm like,
Well,
why are they making me do land nav? I just did all this shit. Yeah. There was so much,
and
and I
all
think wasn't there some on the actual individual weapon systems? Maybe I feel like there was, but maybe not.
yeah, I can't remember, man. I'm sure there's got to be a website out there that could tell us them all. But I just remember
Yeah,
the red jackets and the heavy stapled books together, and you'd have
yes.
the test you'd have to take and mail it off, and then 6 months later you get the completion certificate back, and then end up going in your service record book. And I think there was some way, I want to say like maybe like 2005, 2008ish, I logged online to see how many credit hours I would get to go towards college with my Marine Corps education jacket.
Is it
That was
negative
crazy.
3?
No, a lot of those things counted, man. I was
Really?
shocked. Yeah, man. They had all the Marine Corps Institute stuff on there, and it was like some ungodly number, man. I think I only had to go to college for like a year and 2 months if I wanted to, man, to get a degree. I just would have to find a college, that would take all those as credits, man. But I mean, all the
How
ones
many
I
of
took,
those are
like
there?
and it pisses me off because the VA can't find my freaking health records, right? But then I got the Marine Corps Institute stuff that told me I took math for Marines, which is like the equivalent of math for dummies today. But I mean, it's like, how can they figure out all my education requirements or all my education credits from when I was in the Marine Corps to what it accounts for now? I mean, it was just another aggravating thing for me, man. It's like it lost my medical records, but they knew I took math for Marines and then Marine Corps Institute course. It was one of those things, man, that just furthered like my angst. So,
You
all
mean the
right.
Marine Corps
I don't,
wasn't a stress-free environment for you?
I don't want to get sidetracked, man. I don't want to get sidetracked. So,
No, you're good. You're good, man.
yeah.
So
So,
yeah, so I know I did that, and then we go back in, we fly in. They put us. Oh, here's another one. Shit, I don't know why I didn't think of this. Can you hear that in the background, like guitar or something?
no, I can't.
Oh,
I'm
my
good.
daughter. Okay, cool. My daughter's playing guitar. Sorry.
Okay.
So so they take us to cold weather training for part of our workup.
Okay.
And we don't know where we're going. They didn't tell us where we're going next or what we're doing next after our workup. And we build back your platoon strength and your company strength and all that stuff because you got to get your whole fighting force back up to fighting strength. You're bringing in people. That was the first time I ever heard about 8th and 9th, like getting
Okay.
guys from there. Like security forces came to us, and we're looking at these guys. Like a couple of them were like studs. Like you knew these dudes physically could hack it. What you didn't know is they didn't know shit. They had the rank, but they came back and they didn't know anything. And it's not any fault of their own. They were show ponies.
Yeah,
They
it
were
was just
dudes that went
it
off.
was just the environment that they were placed in.
Yeah, exactly. It's not any fault of theirs. I'm not disparaging anything they did. They did the best they could. And then so we had some really cool dudes. We had Corporal Stoy was a solid dude. We had some really good dudes. And then we had some shitbags. Yeah, we had some shitbags. And they went on and they got weeded out or whatever eventually. So they send us to cold weather training. And I remember them telling us we're going to Bridgeport. So I'm like, we're going to Bridgeport, Connecticut, right? Cold weather, wintertime, makes sense. Fucking Bridgeport, California, Sierra Nevadas. I had no idea this place existed. All I'd ever seen of California was Southern California and the beach, and I hated it. I don't like beaches. So to me,
What?
I was like, get me out of this.
Really?
I hate beaches. Yeah. I was like, get me out of the state. I want nothing to do with it. And then they take me through on the bus ride up because, you know, the Marine Corps, they're going to hook you up with a bus ride. So they take us on this bus ride up through Bishop, California. And I remember looking at this little town, and it's probably changed drastically since. But when I seen it, I remember thinking it looked like the town from Rambo First Blood. Like it was
Oh,
this quiet
okay.
little mountain town. They took us in, got us in whatever it is, Marine Corps Cold Weather School or whatever. I think it's MCCWS or something like that. Took us there. We get acclimated for a couple days. We're in the armory. This is around the time that like Pirates of the Caribbean came out. And somebody had a bootleg version or maybe the actual DVD version. They were watching it on their laptop in the armory. And I'm in the armory at this point because I'm back in the armory and I'm watching this. I'm like, dude, this is so cool. I remember being on radio watch in the mountains when they announced that Saddam had been captured. And I was on radio watch and they said, hey, pass this on. So the next morning, Dio comes up, the battalion commander comes up and I'm telling him what I heard. And he's like, oh shit. So he goes and gets it verified at this point. He's like, he announces it. I'm like, fuck yeah, man, we got the guy. And, you know, then later you see the pictures and everything surface. But cold weather training was awesome. I mean, it was snowshoeing, it was telemark skiing, a little bit of the cold weather survival stuff, but not the cool cold weather survival stuff, snow caves and stuff. It was just fun. It was a really good time. Probably some of the best training I ever got in the Marine Corps.
Did you find a frozen lake to cut the hole out of and jump in the water? And, you know, they make you do all that
No,
to show you that you can
no,
indeed
I,
get submersed and
no. And to everybody else's probably chagrin, I was the asshole that would have liked that stuff and they would have been sick of it. Like people hated that I liked that. But I do remember, uh, at some point, like I remember they gave us brand new packs at some point to carry because it was like you're not going to carry your Molly 2 packs, you're going to carry whatever they were, vectors or CFP 90 type with skis strapped to them and shit. And I felt like I carried so much stuff. I got, excuse me, I got the cold weather MREs, the freeze dried ones that were in the white packages. Those were cool. That was the first time that somebody issued us. No, they had issued us stoves in Iraq the first time, like the little Coleman Peak One stoves. I don't remember ever using it for anything other than maybe heating water for shaving or something, and that was about it on the Humvee. I don't know what we ever. I actually bought one since. I bought one fully packaged. It's got all the Marine Corps labeling on it, and I use it sometimes. It's a pretty cool piece of gear still.
were you still a
What else?
saw? Did you maintain the saw the entire time when you were up in cold weather training? Were you still a saw
No,
gunner? Or they
no. When I went up to cold weather training, at that point, like I said, I was in the armory at that point, and I think they ended up just giving me an M16. So I was
okay?
M16, might have still been A2s at that point. We got
Mm,
A4s later.
okay.
We got A4s right before we went to Iraq the second time. And, you know, with the full Knights armament, whatever rail system on the front, it'd been
KS
retrofitted with a bunch
rail.
of stuff. It was
Yeah.
cool.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know, you had all kind of cool guy gear. They just issued us those brand new, because I'm a nerd when it comes to knives. They issued us these Ontario OKC 31 bayonets, the big coyote brown ones that are way bigger than a K-bar or an M7 bayonet. Uh, they issued us those. But yeah, so I was in cold weather training. Like I said, we came back, and then it feels like it was like pretty quick after that, we were going back to Iraq. And I'm like, well, what genius thought this up? Cold weather training, Iraq, whatever. Thanks for the cool training. You know, it's like I never could wrap my head around that.
If it made sense, it would have
CAX
been in the
again.
Marine Corps.
Yeah, exactly. I went
How'd you
to
enjoy
CAX.
CAX,
I want to
man?
say three.
Did you enjoy
Man, I
CAX?
liked it. Well,
Yeah.
I didn't like it the first time. The first time I got my ass handed to me. When you're doing, what is it, range? Is it 41? The
Yeah, I want to
longest
know, man.
range in the 400, range 400,
Okay.
range 400, I think. So when you do range 400, I think it's range 400, the longest one. They always say it's the longest range in the Marine Corps, which has got to be bullshit, but that's what they tell you. So the first time I jumped in a trench and rolled my fucking ankle when I landed, and it was a saw gunner. And they ended up yanking me out and taking me back to CP. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like I was trying to hobble forward, but at that point you're trying to go to the objective and go through the waddies with the coyotes and everything, and it wasn't working. The second time they ended up grabbing me because, like I said, I was headquarters platoon at the time, but you're still a rifleman. You're still expected to be there and do stuff. And at this time we had, it's funny because nobody talks about our CO. We had a CO that was a straight up just shitbag. I mean,
Mm.
I'd heard nobody talk about this guy. We called him Sketchy Etchy. He had irritable bowel syndrome. He had all kind of issues. I mean, he came from the S3 shop. Like he was, and if I get a Facebook message after this, I don't care because I'll tell him he was a piece of shit. But he was trash. At one point he went, because, you know, when you're headquarters platoon, he thought he was important enough to have his own personal security detail. So Johnny and I that were in the armory, we were his PSD. So he would have us attached to him, and we had these they were like Black Hawk gloves that we just found at one of the shops there in Oceanside, and we wore those because you had to have gloves to protect your hands. It made sense. So you do enough I'm uppy seasoning, I'm down shit. You want something to protect your hands, so we start wearing these, like, I think they were called Solag gloves or Solog or something. And we wore those, and he was like, "What's with the black gloves?" And we're like, "Oh, just the gloves protect our hands." And he goes, "Well, is it like some kind of like group thing, or you guys like?" And I'm looking at Johnny. I was like, "We're like the Black Watch, sure." And I just said some bullshit, just made up something to shut him up. He comes back later and he's like, "I was thinking about this Black Watch thing.
Jeez.
Caesar had the Praetorian Guard," and he's like, "They wore purple sashes." And I'm looking at Johnny like, "I ain't wearing fucking purple sashes." Like, I was like, "This ain't happening." So he comes back and he's like, "I think you guys could wear a purple neckerchief." And this guy had this whole idea that his personal security details should be dressed accordingly, and that it would be a thing if we wore these like purple neckerchiefs under our camis. And Johnny's like, "Dude, I'll stop it." So he's the NCO at the time. He goes and kind of shuts it down.
What, this guy's
But
trying
yes,
to get dressed up like Prince wearing purple ascots or what?
dude, I swear that's what he wanted. He was such everybody up and down the chain. He gets relieved later in my story. I'll tell you that. He gets relieved in country. So anyway, all this goes down. We end up deploying. They send us over to Abu Ghraib prison after all the shit went down, all the sketchy shit with
All right, hold on
the
1
Army.
second.
Yeah.
Hold on.
I skipped ahead, sorry.
No, it's all right. Cold weather training, we backed up, you did a CAX, but now fast forwarding, we're back in Iraq now?
Yeah, we're in Iraq the second time. Like I said,
All right,
I don't remember the exact levels of all our training.
right.
I don't remember how it all went. So
Yeah, because I had asked you before if you flew over or if you took a MEU, and then we started talking and we backed up a little bit. So I just want to make sure that we're both together now. We're back in Iraq, right? For the second,
we flew in the second time, the second tour. I know. I told you I'm going to be all over the place because I don't like my mind works this way. I'm sorry. So
hey, Murph, let's do this. Murph, let's do this. I think it might be a good time for us to take a break. Because I think you and I need to take a break. All right, everyone, we're back from a quick needed break. So, all right, man. So that's it. You all done cold weather training, all the armory stuff, everything else, and you find yourself on your second deployment in Iraq. What was going on there for you this time around? You had mentioned Abu Ghraib after all the bullshit that happened there.
Fully prepped and ready after all the cold weather training to endure Iraq, and we get back in there, and it's a whole different ball game, right? At this point, the first time we were there was 2003. We came later in 2004. The whole dynamic of the place had changed. We're in Abu Ghraib prison. Interestingly enough, a buddy of mine that had met a female MP on his way out of Iraq the first time found out that they are the MPs in charge of the prison in Iraq the second time that we're stationed at. And in typical Army fashion, they hooked us up with the corner that got shelled the most, stick us in this little corner and say, "Hey, you guys will be fine over here." We ended up with a dog somehow. From what we heard, the dude that was over it, he's a colonel, rather, I think, actually, that was over the whole prison was a SEAL in Vietnam and ended up in the Army, became a colonel somehow, had a real hard on for Marines, fucking absolutely loved us, let us keep the dog. He was cool with us. And I remember I actually met one of these dudes like in the last 2 years doing perimeter security in the guard towers were cannon cockers, a bunch of artillery guys, reservists from, I don't remember whether Missouri, I think maybe, or something like that. But they were on the perimeter. They were Marines on the perimeter security. They manned the 50s on the guard towers up top, like outbound security. The Army, the only time they would leave is when they would go in and out to get somebody in or out of there to go to BIOPS and get out of there, Baghdad International Airport, for anybody that doesn't know, or if they had to go dump trash. Otherwise, we handled all the security. Like we went and did security patrols, we did QRFs, we did like the Marines there did everything. Like we did all of it, and it was just our company. So the Lima company were the only ones in that compound with the Army. Everybody else I don't know where they were stationed at. They were somewhere at a camp not too far because it felt like we had to drive forever to get there, but it was really like a probably 20-minute drive on a regular day, right? But because you're in a tactical zone and all that, you're weaving in and out, taking different routes and avoiding shit. So anyway, we had that. We had a blue on blue at some point. One time they called us up for QRF. From what I understand, an Army unit was driving through transport on the MSR that ran in front of this prison. There was flashes going on in the field They thought they were flashes. The Marines in the tower engaged those. They couldn't radio the convoy passing through. The convoy thought the Marines were engaging them and started shooting. So there was whatever it says for us, good or bad, nobody was injured. Like, I don't know if that's good or bad, but no KIAs. They got it sussed out on the radio or fleshed out on the radio. They sent us out for a QRF to go respond. We weren't needed. It all got hashed out. Everything was good. We had our main things we had to do there for a while was there was a Kandari market, Nasser Wasalam police stations, and once or twice a week we had to do like these town hall type things. And this is where our really cool guy CO decided he was like a fucking mafia don. He thought he was like that important. He would come in and Johnny and I would wait outside this room and he would go in there with like local town leaders and hand out money. And it was so crazy. Like, I'm not kidding. I almost wish Johnny was on here to tell you how horrible it was. We would sit outside this door for hours. Everybody else is in the heat in their vehicles, waiting for this guy to get over his own self-inflated sense of importance. And he would just sit and tell these sheikhs why he wasn't giving them money, or these town leaders why he was going to give them money, or whatever. And then he would come out, we'd get in the vehicles and drive back, and he would sit there and tell us how he told them what they were doing. It was like we can make parallels in today's leadership a little bit, but it was like he would tell them why he was running that room. I was like, all right, cool. And so anyway, this went on for a while, like for, I want to say a month or two at least. That was our everyday, hey, now we're going on patrol. We're going to do this. And, you're going out with these guys and whatever. It was just constant security patrols and all this stuff. Well, now the time comes that all of a sudden I have to get, like I'm told, I'm getting promoted. And First Sergeant Hertz at this point, who later gets hurt. If anybody's read the Task and Purpose article about the Humvee that fell on one of our PFCs, he's the guy that picked it up. So he fucked up his disc in his back and had to be exfilled later before Fallujah. But for now, he's still with us. He's like, you're getting promoted. He's like, I don't care where it is, but figure out how you want to do it. I said, I don't want a big promotion. I hate being called to stand in a promotion to see some asshole get promoted. I don't want to make other people do that. And he was like, okay, well, we can do it in front of a whorehouse, and we can do it in front of this, or we could do. And I'm like, hold on, back up. Did you say we could do it in front of a whorehouse? And he goes, yeah, okay. So he blew me off. Later, we come back and he's like, hey, did you guys figure out how you want to get promoted? It was me and another, our company radio operator, Brian Combs. We were both getting promoted to corporal. And Combs and I agreed we wanted to be promoted in front of a whorehouse. So we go tell this guy, we tell Hertz, we said, hey, we want to get promoted in front of a whorehouse. And he's like, yeah, I was kind of bullshitting. That's not going to happen. And he kind of blew us off.
It's my promotion.
Later,
you told me.
So later, we're doing a patrol. And all of a sudden we stop. And he's like, everybody unasked the vehicle. And we're like, what's going on? No idea. And all of a sudden he's like, Murphy, Combs, get the fuck up here. And he pulls us up in front of this building. And he goes, see that building? I said, yeah. He goes, that's a whorehouse. And there's women in there doing not whorish things, but you could definitely tell it's not. You could definitely tell it's not on the up and up. There's some shady shit going on. And they're waving to us and everything. And he's like, there's your whorehouse. You're getting promoted. We're like, okay. So he gives us our promotion. So I got promoted in front of a whorehouse for sure. Whorehouse of ill repute if we got to clean this up for anybody. So we get back in the vehicles, we head on. And then not too long after.
Was that promotion captured at all? You got any pictures of that?
There are pictures of it. Now, I don't know that you can tell that it was a whorehouse, but there's pictures of me and Combs standing there with our hands out and getting rid of our Lance Cooley wings and getting our coral chevrons on. And but there's some pictures. I've got them.
Yeah, I'll be looking for that in the email, man. We'll get it spliced in there.
Yeah. You're probably gonna have to hit me up with some bullet points and say, hey, this, because like I said, my mind's everywhere anyway, as you can tell. And I won't remember what I'm saying. But so anyway, we get back in. And there's a lot of rumblings. Now, of course, I'm just now an NCO at this point. Everybody up and down the chain cannot stand the CO. Like, nobody liked this guy. I'm not. You would be very hard pressed to find anybody to say anything good about him. Anyway, the battalion commander comes in one night, brings all the NCOs in a room. I want to say it wasn't even just NCOs. It was like sergeants and above. It wasn't even like corporals at this point. But he brings them all in, airs out some grievances. Here's some shit. So we're going to take care of this. Pulls the dude out. Next morning, we got a brand new CO. Brian was the new CO. So this guy got relieved in country prior to going to Fallujah. Heatherman was awesome. And I mean, a breath of fresh air, like one of the best dudes that I've ever, like one of those officers that you would work with, be halfway through a conversation, and then all of a sudden realize for 10 minutes you've been talking to this guy and never called him sir. And and he was totally cool with it. He's like, cool, man. And like one of those dudes that was like, GQ level magazine kind of guy. Like he looked like he was there. He did all the right things. He hit all the wickets. And you're like, man, this guy's such a good dude. Totally different than what we had, and tactically sound and open to listening to his other leadership. He wasn't, this is what we're going to do, or this is what we're going to do because I said this is what we're going to do. This guy was totally what a leader should be. So I fully expect, well, I would have fully expected us to have a lot more KIAs or casualties coming out of Fallujah the second time if we would have still had the NCO or the CO that we had prior to. If we would have still had Heather or Echeverria, we would have had, dude, at least 5 times the casualties. Like this guy was a mess. We got Heatherman, tamped it way down. Totally cool, solid, tactically sound dude. Anyway, sorry, I don't know where I'm at. You have to reset me, calibrate me.
You got you got rid of the old shitbag CO that no one liked. You got a scored away guy right now, and you're happy to follow him into combat. Where'd you guys go? What happened?
So then we get word that we're going to. I'm trying to think of the next. There's always that kind of like hush hush. Nobody's going to know anything until they got it. And then we're told, hey.
Well, hold on. Let me back you up a second then. Okay. So the old CO that you guys got rid of, he would have these weekly, monthly, whatever meetings with the locals, giving them cash and all that. And you said his attitude for that was kind of unbecoming. Did you witness any of those type of meetings with the new CO? And was his delivery a little bit different, or was that something you guys had moved on from that? Now you're in a new realm, new territory where he's not dealing with that.
Yeah, we went to, and again, my memory's fuzzy, so I don't know how many we went to, but it was enough to notice a marked difference. Like, okay. I mean, this was noticeable. Like the people that he met with noticed it. We noticed it. We didn't have to sit out there and bake in the sun so this guy could sit there and feel important. Dude, all I can go to say as far as the gear, the CEO, like if you've been around a commanding officer in the field, they know the dudes around them have got their backs. They don't need so much shit. The dude we had prior to had this, I think it was called SO Tech or something. I don't remember what the gear was, but it was this big chest rig. Dude, it weighed more than my ruck. It had to. This thing stood out from him. He probably had like triple mags, had like 10 of them across him. He thought he was going to get in a Black Hawk Down firefight at any given point. Anyway, the new guy, totally different. He was like, you guys got me. I got my shit. I know how to handle myself. Totally different ballgame. Like he was very much a troops first kind of guy. Like he's like, hey, we're going to take care of these Marines. We're not going to sit out here. We don't need to take all these people out for this bullshit. It was a night and day difference.
It was refreshing.
And
right?
100%, like I said,
probably
breath of fresh air.
Yeah, it probably gave you a better sense of purpose while you were there too.
But definitely gave you a better sense of comfort. You're like, man, this guy actually cares. The other guy, not sure he even knew most of our names. But anyway, so we get this guy, we get told, hey, all of a sudden we're going to Fallujah. And we start scrambling because now all of a sudden, we're still using Humvees that are kind of cobbled together. And I got a picture for you of when we first got in Iraq. It looked like the shit we rolled in, or when we first got in Iraq the second time, it looked like the shit we rolled into Iraq with the first time. Okay. Like Beverly Hillbillies, like wooden boxes mounted above the driver compartment with packs strapped down. This weird mount for our 240 that we had in the back. We were still rocking a 240 at that point. We did some horse trading with the MPs that my buddy had made liaison with, and said, hey, we need something better. So the Army hooked us up, signed it out for us and everything. Now you got to figure what kind of trust they've got. They're sending Marines into Fallujah, a 50 cal and a Mark 19 of theirs that they're not going to use as MPs in country. They don't need it. We snaked. I don't remember how we got these. We got 2 Air Force Israeli up armored Humvees because the air conditioning didn't work. I'm not making that up. They give it to us. They said, the air conditioning doesn't work. You guys can have it. It had those weird kind of like shitty bullet resistant windows that you had to like grab this coat hanger type thing and drop the window down. It was horrible. And at the time, like I said, I'm still in the Armory. So we're grabbing whatever kind of ragtag weapons we can on top of our issued stuff. I had a M16A4 at that time with a 203 on it. I had a Mossberg 500 shotgun, a pistol, and Johnny and I swapped all the time on the up gun. So we were off and on the Mark 19. At the time, it was the 240 until we got the 19. But we were swapping all the time. when we go out on regular patrols. And then I somehow acquired this Sterling. I don't know if you know what this is, a Sterling L2A3 submachine gun. You know the old Star Wars movies, like the Stormtroopers, like the 1970s Star Wars.
Was it the side? Was it the side mounted?
It's a
magazine?
side mag. It carried. They ran like 34 9mm mags or something. It looked like a Sten gun kind of.
Yeah.
And it had that folding stock. Somehow I found one of those in the armory left over from the guys before us in the prison. And dude, that thing was awesome. When I got stuck being a driver, which I'll get into later, when I became the driver for the Humvee, I would hang that out the window when we do a run and gun. I just give that thing a quick spurt going through an alley, and it was good. It was awesome.
It ran,
but it fucking ran hot. It was awesome. But I had to run it on the Iraqi National Guard was stationed not far from us. We had some guys kind of there training them, which, as you probably heard anywhere, is a sight to behold when those guys are training. Like, their jumping jacks are atrocious, but everything else they do is even worse. And we meet up with these guys, and I go out to their range, and I'm playing with the Sterling, and then, we're playing with some AKs and stuff, just to make sure they all work, function, checking them all. We had a G3 at some point. Excuse me. We messed with it. Never could really find rounds for it, so we didn't take it anywhere. We just left it there at Abu Ghraib when we left. We left a lot of stuff there for somebody else. I don't know who took over after us. But then we go up to Camp Fallujah, which they even put us on the outside of Camp Fallujah, like in this little kind of hole. And it was like, hey, you're going to be here. There's a Connex box. Store all your sea bags and shit here. Because when we roll into Fallujah, you're not taking that shit. And it's not staying at Abu Ghraib prison. We never came back for that I remember. I think we got in trouble at one point for our gun plate. We had a gun plate on the Mark 19, done some kind of graffiti and wrote some shit on there, and I don't remember what it was. Some guy came in and told us we couldn't have that, so we had to spray it to make him feel happy with some green paint. Came back and painted it back on later. And then all of a sudden we get told, like I said, we're going to Fallujah. Like, it's D-Day, it's happening. We get all in line. I'm trunk monkey at this point because there's nowhere for me to sit in the Humvee. So it's like the driver is Smith, who was our PFC, perpetual PFC. He might have been Lane's corporal this time. He's, like I said, not disparaging Smith. He's a good dude, but he was our company clerk and he was our driver, and he was a big boy. Like, I've been out for 15 years, 20 years. I'm still not as big as he was when he was in. Like, he was good at being a clerk, so they kind of kept writing him off and letting him stay. But he was the driver. Then we had Hertz, who was the company first sergeant at the time. I don't remember who else was in there. The CO was with us and somebody else was with us. Johnny was on the gun. I was in the very back. It was a hard back Humvee, so I sat in the very back on top of all the gear. And I'm just like watching her six, like doing nothing really. I was just there in the vehicle. And then all of a sudden we're waiting to get the to pop smoke to go into the vehicle, or into the city rather. And we're all lined up outside the train station. The MICLIC thing comes up and it blows its line charge, and it's doing its thing. All of a sudden our fucking Humvee just like drops. What the fuck just happened? Well, there's yelling and shouting, and I can't tell because I'm stuck in the back of the vehicle. All of a sudden I get told, get on top, you're on the gun. Watch our security, got MVGs on. I'm sitting on the gun, just looking out. I mean, it's a cool place, nothing really going on, no shooting, nothing. I'm hearing yelling and stuff. Still don't know what's going on. Over the little, we had those, I think they were called PRRs, the little PR personal radios that mounted to you, and they had a little headset. And I'm hearing all this shit, like, what's going on? Smith had been under the vehicle changing the tire because the tire went flat. He was under there changing the tire, and the vehicle dropped on him. The jack gave way and fell on top of it. While we were waiting to go in, Hertz and Johnny, who was on the gun before I got up there, picked this thing up enough to drag him out. Now all of a sudden he's out. Hertz fucked up his back, so Hertz is out. Now our company gunny became our company first sergeant. Johnny's on the gun. I'm the driver. Smith's out. No trunk monkey, so we kind of rebalanced the vehicle. They get those guys in medevac. I don't know how they got out of there. I still don't remember if they took them out on a different Humvee, whatever happened. And then we roll into the city, and it was just go, go, go the rest of the time. I mean, it was just, the first night was just manic because you didn't know what to expect. Fallujah was just constant house to house, door to door, go. That's where we had all our KIAs, was in Fallujah. Like I said, nothing Iraq the first tour.
Now, how many, if you can remember, how many total Marines did you have with you?
Oh, rolling in, I don't
squad,
know,
platoon, company.
No, we were way more than that. So this is going into the train station. It was our whole 3-1. It was our whole 3rd Battalion, 1st Marines.
Oh, it was the entire battalion?
Yeah, it was the entire battalion, because the train station was it was going to be set up as our BAS and our kind of foothold into it, right? I'm trying to think of how many we had a company level on top that we went in with when we all fanned out. Our company went this way, everybody else went this way. You can look it up. I'm sure there's a map on there about how it's all broken down when we rolled into the city and took it. But we were on the far right. I just remember it was right. I don't remember direction east to west how we went, but we were right up near the Euphrates. We had to roll through the Jolan district. I remember that. And we ended up pushing all the way up to the flour factory, I think is what we decided it was, or a flour mill. That's where we stopped at. I don't remember how long we fought for. It just felt like it felt like forever. I mean, it was just perpetual Groundhog Day. Like you were just, every day was, holy shit, is this over? Holy shit, it just started, you know?
Was the fighting intense all the time for you when you guys showed up in Fallujah? Did you have any lulls? Was it more intense during the daytime? Was it more intense during the nighttime? How much of Fallujah was secured? And when you guys were there, had we built up like a permanent base there in Fallujah during this time? I'm just trying to get a scope of the timing because we had two different big ass battles in Fallujah. That initial one after the incident on the bridge with the contractors, and then we went back.
The ropes were still there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The ropes on the bridge were still there. We were stationed. Our flour factory that we ended up setting up a firm base at was overlooking the new bridge. I guess I should say right on the Euphrates. So we didn't see we seen the ropes if you went out there, but we weren't the Blackwater, where they hung them and all. That wasn't something we constantly looked at, but it was not too far from us. But yeah, when we rolled in, it was Phantom Fury, man. It was second battle. Like we rolled in fucking hot. Like I said, we blew the line charge, roll in, fanned out. I mean, there was nothing. It was just go, go, go every day. I remember at some point we got into, I wish, like I said, I wish Johnny was here because I could ask him what day this was, like if he remembers this. Because I remember being in the vehicle and he was on the gun. And at one point, everybody's so fucking tired. You're constantly running. And we weren't with a regular line platoon because we were still headquarters platoon. So we were mostly vehicle mounted, but we would come in and we would run supplies. We'd run medevacs. We'd run into buildings with guys if we had to. Like we'd help clear buildings. But we weren't doing that shit day to day. I mean, we were, but we weren't doing it to the level these guys were, like the line platoons. So I remember like one day we're sitting there on the street and they were doing, I swear this was like a hotel or an apartment complex they had to clear. And it was at least 5 stories tall. It might've been more, but it was at least 5 stories, multiple rooms. Well, we're on the street watching and Johnny's like, hey man, everybody's in there. We're just watching the street, kick back and get some sleep. What? He's like, yeah, just kick some sleep. He's like, you're sealed up down there. I'll watch. I got it. Yeah. I don't know how long I was out for. Not very long. And all of a sudden he's kicking my helmet. He's like, fucking move. I'm like, what's going on? He's like, we're taking rounds. And when he returns fire and all this shit goes down, it finally stops. Like everything just stopped. Like it was like, okay, nobody's shooting at us anymore. I returned fire. So what the hell happened? And he's like, dude, I took like 2 or 3 rounds of my gunplate. He's like, somebody's got us point. Like we're taking rounds from somewhere. Well, after it's all done, I'm looking and I'm like looking at my glass. I said, dude, I got spider webs on my glass. Like somebody had put a round into that glass on that up armored Humvee. And we kind of recreated it later when we're at our actual firm base, when all this is said and done, like after we settled in like days later. And we sat down and he said, just sit behind the wheel. And he's like, well, kick your head back. And I have my head back, like with my helmet, like undone, but I was using it as kind of a half-ass pillow. That dude would put one right through my chin. If that wasn't bullet resistant glass, I probably wouldn't be here talking. There's a picture somewhere, the Humvee, you can kind of see it in the background, but we never did get that actual picture. I don't know what happened to it, where I was behind the wheel. And it was just, like I said, most of it feels like a blur, if not a bad dream sometimes.
Right. I get it.
Like I said, lots. Yeah. And sorry, like I said, I'm not trying to be like averse to detail. I just don't remember a lot. And that's one of the things, when you go talk to the VA, you talk to some of these counselors and you're just like, dude, I can't even hatch out some of this stuff.
So how long in Fallujah did you guys spend? I mean, this is your second tour now. You got this new CO. You guys rolled into Fallujah. You said on the onset you had taken some casualties. So how much total time were you guys hooking and jabbing there in Fallujah before you punched out of the city?
Phantom Fury kicked off. I know it was November, like early November. And I remember when we got out, I was out of the Marine Corps by May of 05.
Okay.
So what, 4 months maybe we were actually there, 3 months total,
Okay.
like in that firm base doing regular patrols and stuff like that. But it was, man, it felt like like even when you were done, when it all cleared out, you never felt like you were completely at ease. Like every time you went out to get on the MSR to go down Michigan to get out of the city or whatever, you always felt like it could just pop off again. Like I never felt 100% at ease in that city. It wasn't even, I was never scared to go out of the lines or anything. It was just like, okay, this city does not feel secure still. Like it just didn't. I mean, it had been a lot of it was pummeled to rubble. I mean, we would seize weapons that we did find and we would throw them in pits and burn them. At one point we had to do like, I think we dumped a bunch of JP8 on a pit of weapons that we captured and found throughout the whole time there. Like other platoons had brought them to us. It wasn't just us. Um, we threw them in a pit, covered them in JP8, threw a thermite grenade in there. And then buried it. I'm sure somebody buried it. Holy shit. The engineers, with their caterpillars, they're big, what is it, D8s or D9s? Those things were invaluable. Like, I mean, amazing. Because we still had O350 ones at the time, and they were having problems with some of these buildings clearing them out. So they would just drive the D9 through them, or the D8 or whatever it was. They just drive the dozer through it. Because
Take
they
care of the
can't
whole
do anything to
building in
us.
one pass, right?
Yeah, they could do it. Well, one or two passes, and you weren't worried about like a basement over there for the most part. They could just cruise right through it. Yeah, it was.
How was
That was like I said. Good.
how was the IED activity there?
I don't recall any IED activities at this time. I did well. I should back up. So before we rolled into Fallujah, while we were still in Abu Ghraib doing security patrols, we did have Sergeant Calderon got taken out by an IED in his Humvee. And that was the only time I was ever worried about an IED is when that happened. Because once it hits one of your guys that's been there for a while, it's real, right? Like not to downplay anybody else that ever was a KIA or any of the boots that ever got hit, but once it hits one of your dudes that you kind of came in with, all of a sudden you're not untouchable anymore.
That's real.
And Calderon was higher up than us, but he wasn't like an OG in the unit. But you're like, man, this guy's seen some shit. He dropped us from another unit. He fucking took a hit. Like this is real. And that was our first hit in country. And then after that, it was Fallujah took the rest of it. Yeah. So listening to your last podcast, like I said, there's a lot of stuff there that I'm like, damn, man. Some of it took me back. So some of it's jogged my memory, and some of it I'm still like, I don't remember day to day on a lot of it. Like I really don't. And I don't know if that's me blocking it out or if it's fucking old age catching up and I don't remember stuff. I don't remember, I don't know where I sit on that, but some of it I'm sure is
All right. Well, let me ask you
blocking it
about
out, compartmentalizing. Yeah.
let me ask you about you, man. How did you fare? Did you sustain any injuries? Did you get hurt at all? Did you get
No,
wounded?
never got hurt. Anything we ever did, any kind of action we ever got into, we came out unscathed, Johnny and I, because we were always together. That's why I keep going to him. We were always together. We were the PSD for that other company commander, so we were always kind of together. Never got anything we ever engaged in. We came out okay. Yeah, like I said, anything else is just kind of like trying to make sense of it most of the time. But as far as physical wounds,
So how did it feel wrapping up? Because you said you got out in what, 2005 you got out, and now this was
yeah,
2004. So
well,
obviously your
yeah.
time in the Marine Corps is winding down. You're over there in Fallujah. How did that process look like for you, making the decision to not re-up, to get out and to move, and to move on? Did you make that decision in Fallujah? Did you make that decision in Iraq, or was that deployment over and then you were presented an opportunity to either re-enlist or get out? I mean, what all went into that, man? Because that's for some people it's a very easy thing. Hey, man, I'm getting the fuck out. I'm done. Or like, hey, what can I do to make this a career? Or do I have anything left to give? What was that like for you?
One, now it's made. I kind of struggle with sometimes because like in your younger days, you're pretty sure of everything you do. I was at that time, I was like, hey, I'm tired of all the bullshit, the room inspections, the gear inspections, the stuff that you did in the rear. I was like, because I knew when we left Fallujah, we were going to go back to the rear. And I was like, it's going to be more of the same bullshit. Like, I'm going to have to go through all this again. only to come over here and do the stuff I signed up to do. And that's when I feel like I'm free of all. You know what I mean? Like this is what I signed up to do was this stuff here, not bullshit garrison stuff. And I don't know that I ascribe to the fact that there's garrison Marines and field Marines 100%, but there's definitely people that excel in one or the other. And I was like, man, I just don't like being in the garrison because I just didn't like all that pomp and circumstance shit. I hated wearing a full on dress uniform. I was ready to move on. And then when I went on leave,
I mean, there could be
I met a
argument.
girl. Sorry.
I mean, people can make an argument that, you know, having a 6-inch by 6-inch T-shirt on the junk of the bunk inspection leads to combat readiness and combat effectiveness, and then there's people who will just laugh at that. So understand both sides of it. There's a need for readiness, and how do you judge readiness? You judge readiness by pre-described inspections, right? But then when you're over there and you're doing it, and you know, there's no 6-inch by 6-inch T-shirts, man. There's no wall locker inspections. There's, you know, keep your weapon clean. You know, make sure all your FAC, all your medical stuff, food, water, ammo, and all that. I mean, that's readiness there, right? So I was kind of the same way, and I was fortunate enough after I moved into the wing that we were just so focused on keeping those airplanes up and gone, and I didn't have any. It was a blessing for me, man, because like you, I hated that bullshit in the rear, man. You know, wall lockers, junk at the bunk, making sure things were SL3 complete, you know, having all the radio equipment laid out for some gunny to walk by, and you know, using pencil erasers on the connections and stuff, making them as shiny as they can be. I mean, I get it, but then when you're deployed and you're doing it, man, you're just throwing shit in a bag, man. You're doing a quick comms check and all that, you know? So I get the argument. Yes, it proves readiness. Yes, it proves, you know, we have everything we need. But after you get done doing it for real and you come back and you got to jump back in that environment, you're like, you know, and I can look at it too. And I don't want to hijack your podcast here, but you know, I've spent months.
Your podcast.
I've spent months at a time on the road with the airplane, man. And the way you treat that airplane, the way you take care of it on the road is far different when you're in the rear, when you have eyes on you and stuff. You know what you can do when you're on the road. It's not talking about getting away with it that you're not supposed to be doing, but it's like, we know what we need to do to keep this airplane up. And we're not doing half the shit that we prescribe to back home, because we're doing what we need to do to keep flying and not bring the airplane home. And sometimes if you do what you're supposed to be doing back home, you're bringing that airplane back because they're going to tell you, you know, you can't fly it. You shouldn't be flying it. But we did. We were safe. So yeah, man, I get it. I can appreciate the fact that you had spent some time, Mark 19s, you guys were taking casualties, you were going door to door. Fallujah, you had the incident on your first deployment, and it's like, what's this worth? I mean, do I really want to subject myself to the garrison life when you know that, you know, I don't want to do this anymore? So
You're right. You're right in a lot of ways about that. It's almost like that kind of. I mean, we've all, at least in this space, heard Jocko, right? Discipline equals freedom. I mean, there is a lot of that. There's a lot to be said, and that's the military runs on that. To be fair, right? Like if you're always ready here, when you go out there, it'll be easier to fall back to always being ready. That's the whole reason. Winters and Band of Brothers always shave, because that maintained that discipline, right? There's a lot to be said for that. I do agree with it on certain levels. Did I need my boots bloused in Fallujah? No. In fact, I don't know where the fuck those boot bands went once I crossed the fucking train tracks. No idea. Don't care. And I remember there's a picture of me shaving somewhere with that stupid stove I talked about, because they gave them to us again. There's a picture of me shaving somewhere, and I'm like, I remember asking the first sergeant, you know, like one of those rare moments of, he was always cool. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he was always gung ho, but he was one of those dudes that you could talk to and say, hey, you know, if there's a rule for everything, what's the rule for always shaving? And he's like, well, you got to be able to seal the gas mask. If you go in Mach 4, if you got some facial hair, not like, you know, you or I do now, but if you had just a little bit of stubble, that little bit could allow some air in there. And all of a sudden you're doing the funky chicken over here dying of anthrax or something because you just didn't want to shave that stubble off. Like, okay, cool. So I remember we go into Fallujah, we left our stupid, our sea bags and that stupid gas mask in the Connex box miles away at Camp Fallujah with all the fobbits and shit. And I'm like, okay, cool. So we're out there, and I'm like, so he's like, hey, you know, when we're doing our, we had to do they call it a stand down. When you do a stand down, you get so far above everybody, they're like, hey, we're going to rotate out. Somebody's going to maintain our presence in Fallujah. We're going to step back to the train station, recock, refit. You guys are taking some casualties, decompress. you're going to shave and clean your weapons and shit. Because you did that kind of every night while you could when you're, somebody's on watch or cleaning your weapons, but nobody's out there shaving in the city when we're holed up in some random building waiting for the morning to take over again. So I remember I'm shaving and I'm like, I remember asking, I think it was the gunny at the time because, he had stepped up, first sergeant was out. And I remember asking, Gunny Wilson, I said, hey, what's the purpose of this? I said, because first sergeant told me that we did this for gas masks. And I wasn't bitching. I was just like, hey, I'm curious. And he goes, well, and I'm like, he couldn't answer it, but he gave one of his normal Gunny Wilson answers of just shave your fucking face kind of thing. All right, cool. And you did it because he was a good dude and well, he's a gunny, he's going to tell you to do it anyway. But I remember just being like, yeah, the whole purpose of this was the gas mask. And that bitch is so far away by the time you get gas, I'm never going to get to it anyway.
Right.
But okay, sure. I just had to call you on your bullshit. It's for me, not you. Yeah, I remember there was so much of that. But anyway, so like I said, I got out because of that. And then also I was home on leave. I think I missed, I extended. I was supposed to get out January of that year. Before we rolled into Fallujah, or maybe before we even left for Iraq the second time, they had asked people to extend because a lot of our enlistments were going to come up while we were over there, and some guys were, and nobody judged them. Some guys before we even left for Fallujah were getting out. They were flying home from Abu Ghraib prison because their time was up. They're done. There was no stop loss at that point. You were just out. And when it came my turn, I was like, they said, hey, do you guys want to extend for 4 months? I'll get you to your deployment. I extended because I'm like, no, I'm not going to leave. And no judgment on anybody that did. I'm not fucking throwing shade or whatever on anybody else that did. But I was like, I'm going to go with these guys. I'm coming back with these guys. So I extended for 4 months. So that's why I got out in May of 05 instead of January of 05. And a lot of us did. And again, a lot of us didn't. And there was no ill will towards anybody. But I got out because of a girl. I was like, I'm going to come back, and I met this chick on leave, and I'm going to come back and be with her, and it's going to be awesome. Of course, I get back. She's already met a new dude, and I was like, fuck, I'm out now. But yeah, but it wasn't a big deal. It was not a big deal. It was not like we were together. She didn't cheat or anything like that. It was just, fucking, that's why I got out. You kind of wonder what would have been like if I'd have stayed. But, I mean, who knows? Even what if your life away if you're not careful.
All right. So, excuse me. So you get out. Now what? What are you doing? You're out of California and back in Indiana where, I mean.
No, God, no. I left California. I don't even.
What did the whole exit process look for you like? Did you have a plan? Did you just show up back home and was like, hey, I'm out. Now what? I mean, what was that? What was that transition like for you?
You guys were talking a podcast or two back about going to meet the company first sergeant. And at the time, Hertz was still out. So it was, I want to say his name was Spinks, maybe. First sergeant Spinks. I don't remember. But anyway, he called me into his office, and my buddy, he used to be, and he would agree with this if he ever hears this. He was a shitbag at one point. Like he had crosshairs on him all the time because he was the guy that would show up for Liberty attire, big ass Doc Martin, oxblood fucking boots, 32i or 18i, whatever the big tall ones up to the knee, and Dickie shorts and a Slayer t-shirt. He would show up like that. I'm the guy that's like, oh no, you show up in jeans, the fucking polo with the belt like you have to because that's what they tell you. So, he was that guy. Well, anyway, we're checking out together. He's going to another unit. I'm getting out. And he's standing there. He's the one that helped me with my alphas because I never owned a set of blues because I didn't, like I said, didn't like to dress up if I didn't have to. So I just kept the alphas because I never wanted to wear them. I'm asking him where the uniform shit is. I'm like, dude, where's this stuff go? Like, I don't even fucking know how to wear this thing. And he's hooking it up and he's telling me how to do it and everything. And he goes in there in front of me. They call him in. Brandon Riles is his name. He goes in. And this dude rips him up and down. Now, in the meantime, though, like all that, when I told you he first got in, he was a shitbag. He had his crosshairs. He proved to himself when we went to Bridgeport. Like he fucking shined. He saved a dude from hypothermia. Like crawled in sleeping bags, saved this dude's life. And then from then on, he was the dude. But this new first sergeant was checking him out. And he's ripping his ass about his uniform. I mean, just shredding him up and down. And I'm over there like POA, like outside the door, going, if Riles is getting yelled at, I'm fucked. Like there is no hope for me because my uniform, even though he helped me, is atrocious the rest of the way out. He calls me in, and this is how I knew like the salesmanship tactics, like what was happening. He calls me in, hey, fix your belt, your gig line's fucked or whatever, and I'm kind of adjust my belt. I was standing there like, what else is he gonna get? I'm like, I'm just waiting. And he's like, looking at my little, you had to fill out a plan back then, I think. What you were gonna do when you got out, what your home address was, all this other, like you had to give him a plan, which is good practice. It was cool. It's kind of like making you fill out job applications in high school kind of thing. And he said, what's your plan? I said, I'm gonna go home. I said, I'm coming from a small town, big diesel engine manufacturers and stuff, and go back to a job there somewhere. And he's like, fuck you doing? He's like, you don't have any trouble. He's like, anything you ever had kind of was typical Marine shit. It's already been swept away. And he starts talking to me like real candid. Cool. So I'm like, well, this is bullshit. Like the minute I say, hey, I want to re-enlist, he's going to go back to a first sergeant asshole is what he's going to do. So I'm like, okay. And I'm like telling him what I'm doing and my plan. He goes, all right, well, you got to, basically says, you got a recruiting, what do they call that? Like your comments, in there, like what's your, forget, like recruiting something. 1A or A1 is what you were listed as. You could come back. Like there's nothing wrong with you. You're fit for combat right now. He's like, you've got that. He's like, if you want to come back in, call us up and we'll find a home for you. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Thanks, First Sergeant. And full on like still like military decorum. I wasn't like, yeah, sure, thanks, man. And he's like, all right, cool. All right, well, dismissed. And I pull the dismissed, aye, sir type shit and step out. And I'm like, and my buddy's out there and he goes, dude, what the fuck happened? He goes, that was totally different than mine. I'm like, he was trying to keep me, man. He didn't give a shit about you. And we kind of laughed about it. We go back to the barracks and have a case of beer or whatever. And then I get out in, like I said, May of 05. And I was technically, you got what, like 4 years active, 4 years inactive. And I think I was actually, I never heard anybody else that got called back. I got called back one time to go to a hotel in Ohio to do my inactive ready reserve kind of muster or whatever the hell they called it. And I just remember looking at those dudes being like, I don't want to end up like these guys. Like I want to stay on top of my shit because these guys were full. Now I've ended up like some of these guys. For the most part, they let themselves go completely, and I didn't want to do that. Who knows where they came from? I don't know what what branches and all that stuff, but yeah.
What'd you do for income
when I got out? You cash in some of your leave, and I think for about a month, and I'm not exaggerating, for about a month, I just drank. I would go to a bar, I would open it, I would close it. I'd be back there the next day opening and closing, and that was just living off my leave kind of thing that I had built up. Whatever the hell I can't remember what the hell it's called. Basically, your cash outs when you're leaving, and I did that, and then like I said, I started at the company I'm with now, and I've been there ever since. And moved around, moved up the ranks and things like that. And I, it's definitely an honest lifestyle. There's nothing wrong with it. I miss the Marine Corps every day. I miss things about it, but I'm also, absence makes the heart grow fonder. I'm sure I'm romanticizing a lot of it. I'm sure a lot of it's just kind of, probably not that great. I mean, maybe I'd have stayed in and got busted down 2 or 3 times. I mean, who the fuck knows what I would have done? And I wasn't a bad Marine. I got busted for drinking underage once and one bar fight, and then other than that, it was not a big deal. But typical shit like Chesty would approve.
So, looking back, you talked about you did some drinking, you got the job.
Yeah.
Things chilled out. Things. We're 2020. We're 21 years past you getting out.
Yeah.
Well, are things chill? You keeping up with the guys? Are you, you and I had a conversation offline. I don't want to get in details, about the VA and some other things, what are you doing? What are you doing to take care of yourself, man? What are you doing to keep yourself focused? What are you doing to keep yourself not slipping? If that's even an issue,
Well, I guess, there's a lot, that's a very open-ended question. I'm probably not doing enough because if we go back in time, say 3 years ago, I was on it, man. I was killing it, working out constantly. I was doing CrossFit shit at home. Actually, starting in 2020, I started doing CrossFit, and this is not me just telling you I do CrossFit because I did do CrossFit. I know there's that. They say we're already hitting it, right? Marine, CrossFit. I'm not a vegetarian, but yeah. So we did all that shit, and I was in the best shape of my life outside the Marine Corps. And then somewhere along the line, I slipped. And all I've really done lately is ruck. I like to take my dog out for a ruck, still on anywhere from 30 to 60 pounds and go out for anywhere from 3 to 6 miles with the dog. And that's all I've done lately. And I was in the last, not because of the new year, but probably in the last month or so, I've got a full gym here in my garage, but because it got cold, I'm in Indiana. So it's cold right now. I haven't unpacked a lot of shit. My garage is kind of jacked up. I haven't been going down there to work out in probably about a year, and I need to get back on that. So last December, talking about the VA type thing, because again, we talked about it. Last December, I went to the VA, and for the first time ever, because I had realized that I do indeed have tinnitus. I had a bad taste in my mouth for the VA, not so much because of just the bad things I'd heard about it. And if we don't want to go into some of this stuff, that's fine. Let me know. But not just because the bad things I'd heard. I mean, our generation, there was a lot of horror stories from the VA, and I think there's been a lot of reform in the VA right now. I think it's gotten a lot better. There's people that actually give a shit, and I will honestly say, for my experience, maybe it's just this way in Indiana, the VA for me, I've experienced nothing but positive things.
Good.
Everything
Fantastic.
from up and you get that. Well, I'll give you a quick story. The crisis hotline that they always tell you, the 988 899, something like that, whatever it is. I called that one night because it said, if you're experiencing crisis or you're thinking of harming yourself, call this number. I'm like, well, I'm experiencing crisis, but I'm not going to kill myself. So I call this number. And the lady's like, oh, where are you at? And she goes through this whole thing. Sweetheart of a woman. Absolutely. I mean, everything about this thing. Like, she was trained properly. She had the right tone. She was right out of the gate. And I said, hey, I think I made a mistake. She's like, what did you do? And I said, I called this number. I'm not thinking of killing myself. I got nowhere to turn. I got nobody to talk to. Got something going on. I don't feel like I can talk to anybody that knows me. I want to talk to somebody that doesn't know me. She goes, sweetie, you're fine. She's like, this isn't about killing yourself. She's like, let's just talk. Totally calm. Talked it out. She sent me, or somebody sent me a follow-up letter not long, 2 days after the thing was here, checking on me. They called me the next day. They called the mental health thing to check me in. No, hey, nobody's coming to get you in a freaking padded wagon. You're not in a straitjacket. Totally cool right out of the gate. And I told them, I said, look, I have full custody of my daughter. I have a house. I don't want to lose any of that. I don't want to lose my firearm. She goes, no, you're not in danger of that. She goes, you called to ask for help. You're doing the right things. And I'm like, I'm not going to kill myself. I just want to talk. And so again, they put me in touch with the mental health department with the VA. They are really awesome. Again, all up and down, nothing but positive things to say about that group. But yeah, so anyway, yeah, so like I said, I've been doing some stuff. I'm actually writing down a workout plan again. Hopefully getting back after it, because I've been slacking. And
now you're into some other things. Yeah, you're into some other things too, right? Like you told me about your collecting knives and doing gear reviews and that type of thing to keep yourself busy and keep your mind moving, right? You want to talk about any of that?
Whole separate podcast. We're not careful. Yeah. So yeah, the first two, I mean, I've always been kind of a knife guy, because I mean, to be honest, that's one of our oldest tools, right? As humans that we've created. I mean, obviously the first was probably the stick, a sharpened stick, or a stick to whack things with. But the knife, a sharpened piece of rock that broke off, was probably our first real tool that wasn't just a stick. And the first tour in Iraq, on the way over on the Denver, or the Bonhomme Charlotte rather, so I bought a knife off of a buddy of mine's. I think he was a squad leader, might have been a fire team leader. That he was like, hey, we're gonna have to take all this shit on shore, and I don't want to carry it. Okay, well, my whole experience in life up to this point was like a buck 110, like the traditional folder that like Bo and Luke Duke carried kind of on their hip, or your grandpa's old timer fucking hunting knife or something. Well, this dude pulled out this knife like I've never seen. I mean, other than like a Rambo movie. And I was like, dude, I want that. I said, what do you want for it? And at the time, it was like $80, because that's what I bought it for. Just give me the money when we get back from Iraq. That's all I need. Carried this thing all the way up and back and forth to Baghdad. And I was a saw gunner. So back in the day, if you were a machine gunner, you carried a K-bar, right? Because you couldn't mount a bayonet to a machine gun. So you carried a K-bar, or a K-bar derivative. And so I bought this knife off of him, and it had a, well, here I got it actually. It has a like an offset handle. Like you could mount it like on a drop, and it would pull out basically like a pistol. I'm like, well, that's pretty badass. Now you can't see it really well here, but so it's got this weird kind of odd shape. I'm like, okay, cool. So I bought this thing, and this is not the one. My buddy Johnny has the actual one, and the fucker won't give it back. But anyway, this is the one I bought to replace it. Well, that started me off on a whole nother lifestyle of meeting the guy that made the knife. I'm friends with him now. I had custom knives made. I worked with a custom knife maker. I go to the blade show in Atlanta every year. I know enough people up and down the chain that I'm in the knife industry periphery. I'm not in the industry. I don't work full time as a knife maker or anything like that. But I'm in there enough that I know some people. And and again, that knives are part of my life. That's how I mark a lot of parts of my life is knives. But then again, like you're talking about going into different things in my life. I worked with the Young Marines. My daughter joined the Young Marines at 8 years old because it's 8 to 18 is what they're allowed in, and she joined it. And I think she's now decided, kind of like I did, she's done with it. She's ready to move on.
They've been around a long time and they have done some amazing things and they have put some wonderful products out into the world. Whether they, some of those young Marines move on and go to the Naval Academy, the Air Force, West Point, or just become leaders within the college they go to within their own community. I mean, the Young Marines is a fantastic, fantastic organization, man. So, I mean, if your daughter's wrapped up in that and she's finished the program, I mean,
She's kind of done.
yeah, I mean they're great. They do great things. They always have, and the honor, courage, commitment, and some of the other attributes of the Marine Corps that they instill in these kids at a young age. I mean, it just sets them up, and whether or not they don't go through life into the military or not, but just those basics, man, can really set people straight and set them up for success with leadership and everything else. So, um, what a great organization for sure.
Did you know about them? I mean, you're speaking pretty highly of them. Did you know about them before you went in?
Oh, the Young Marines? No, no, not at all.
Yeah,
I was very, I mean, I enlisted out of, just outside of Detroit. Like I first walked into a recruiter's office in 1990, delayed entry program. We just hung out, maybe a week and a month or something with those guys before we went out to boot camp with my delayed entry. What the hell did we call it back then? Not your battle buddy. That's an army thing, but your delayed entry program with, your friend or
yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
it was just me and Vinny, man, just showing up once, every now and then, and got picked up by, Sergeant Tolar, Staff Sergeant Bean, like 6 hours after I graduated high school, man. We're at a Red Roof Inn and then straight to boot camp the same day of high school graduation. So, uh, no, but prior to, no, man, I never heard of the Young Marines and I barely heard about JROTC, high school guys and all that
Or even
stuff. I just wasn't,
ROTC at that point, probably. Yeah.
yeah, but no, hadn't heard of it.
Well, the reason I wondered is because I mean, you knew enough about it, and I mean, obviously, you probably researched it a little bit, but we had talked about it. And man, I honestly didn't know. I know when my daughter joined, we found out about them at the county fair, and I'm like, what is the Young Marines? Because I'd been in scouts off and on as a kid, because I thought it was all about camping, and then you find out it's really not. I mean, it is, but it's a lot of other stuff, and there's life skills. Not talking shit about any scouts. Scouts are amazing, but I was always that's all I thought you could do is you could the Boy Scouts or that was it. Well, then when my daughter seen these guys at the fair, we ended up kind of involved in it, and she was adamant. She was 7. She was adamant. She was like, "Dad, they said I can join at 8. I can join this year." And we joined, and she hated it for a while. She got really heavy into it for a while. She kind of fell back and forth with it like teenagers kind of do. And then, like I said, now she's done. But I remember when she really got into it and I started talking to the unit commander, I said, man, this wasn't a thing when I was a kid. I didn't know about this. He goes, yeah, it was. He says, you're not that old. I said, no, dude, I'm older than you think. He goes, no, the Young Marines have been around since like 1954, dude. I had no idea. And, every now there's places that are kind of like Young Marine deserts. Like you're just not going to find a unit for a while, but they're all over the place. Like they're worldwide, but they're mostly here in the United States. And it's not a pipeline to the Marine Corps or the military in general. It's not trying to get you to join. I'm sure somewhere along the line there's that kind of like undertone of because the Marine Corps and the Marine Corps League helped fund it. Congress used to earmark money for them. I think they haven't in a while, or they fell out. They maybe kind of came back. But anyway, for the most part, it's all self-funded. They do fundraisers. They do stuff like they go to Pearl Harbor every year for Pearl Harbor Day. Like every December, the Young Marines are there, and they're there to honor and show reverence. Like the community work they do drug demand reduction, and this is not a commercial for the Young Marines. I'm just telling you what I've seen in my own daughter. They do drug demand reduction, so similar to kind of DARE when we were growing up, and it's a leadership program. So it's all about fostering leadership. And if you don't join the military, they don't give a shit. They just want to set you up to do better in the community. Yeah.
Is there anyone else? Is there anything else you want to speak about tonight? Is there anyone
I mean, we
you want to
both talked
remember?
about Team RWB a little bit offline.
Oh
I've
yeah.
done some stuff with them. I used to do a lot of work with GoRuck.
Okay.
And then that kind of led into Team of the RWB. Warriors in Nature is a friend of mine here locally that I've met through that group. He's the founder,
Okay.
Russ Broughton, and we teamed up and because he was looking for somebody that maybe had some knowledge of an area he was looking to kind of do his inaugural event. And their whole purpose is he's a combat vet, Marine combat vet from Afghanistan, machine gunner, and he just said, "Hey, look, I spent a lot of time at a bar. I've struggled with my own stuff. I don't want people to feel like the only place they can go to is a bar." And he kind of started thinking, "Hey, I just want to get outside. I like to fish. How can I foster that?" So he started trying to get marine or vets out to fish and to be out in nature and just to heal, and not so. And there's a lot of groups like this. I'm not saying he's like this novel idea, but he didn't know this, so he thought he had a novel idea.
Yeah, it's funny because this new generation, and I'm not mean new, but the post 9/11 type of veteran, they're all not just about sitting in a bar telling war stories the way the VFW and the Fleet Reserve Association, some of those other ones are about, man. Groups like that, they were hurting for memberships for a while because they're like, yo, man, we're younger, we're smarter, we're way fit, and we're not ready for that yet. So that's why there was an explosion of these groups, like your buddy wanting to start up something where, to break that cycle of just vets just sitting around and telling war stories. Like, yeah, we could do all that. We can have a beer, but you know what? We're gonna go rock climbing first. Oh yeah, we could do that, but let's go run this marathon first. Or yeah, we could do that. Let's go run this obstacle course race. Yeah, we can do that, but let's go take care of this community first. And I think like the transition that we've seen since 9/11, with all these different groups opening up, there are just so many better resources, man, for veterans that are out there now. And it's so difficult when you're talking to a veteran, because guys like you and I are in tune to the veteran community. A lot of veterans aren't, and when you start telling them, when you start hearing them say, well, there's nothing out there for me, you're like, the fuck there isn't, man. What are you into? And for a fact there's something out there for every veteran, man. And I'm thrilled that the veteran community now has just got so many options for these guys. I'm not talking about the VA. I'm talking about individual veterans stepping up, exercising leadership, coming out with a plan, coming out with a purpose, and pen to paper, then paper to reality, and getting support for it and having it grow. Whether it be Warriors in the Wilderness, whether it be RWB, I mean, there's just so many of them out there right now, man. And I think it's great. I think it's great.
Well, on our last event, it's funny because I didn't realize I didn't mention this. Our last event with Warriors in Nature at Red River Gorge in Kentucky was with Team RWB out of Louisville. We met with them and just said, "Hey, we're going to make a joint kind of camping thing." And it's like, "Well, you guys do the same shit. We do the same shit. We're not here to take anybody's money. It's not the VFW versus the Legion. And I don't know if that's a real thing, but it's not like we're trying to get you in our bar instead of theirs. Come out here and let's all do this together. We're here to save lives."
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. And like I said, Russ is doing an amazing thing. He's got an event coming up this weekend. Not that this is going to get posted before that, but he's got an event coming up this Saturday, and it's just a random hike. It's like a 10-mile hike, and it's easy. It's just, and I won't be able to do it because I'm working a bar part time. I think I told you, and I'm not going to make it, but I'm going to take the dog out there to see him launch. I'm going to help, kind of get some shit together, and they're going to go, and I'm going to go off to do my job for the day. And but he's passionate about it. I hope he goes far with it. His main thing right now, just that he can, the little bit that everybody can do. His little bit is getting park passes, state park passes for veterans. So if you're in Indiana and you're like, "Hey, I want a park pass for the state," because it's it's all encompassing to the state. You just hit him up on email and he'll say, "Okay, cool. I need a redacted DD-214 or your ID, and I'm going to send you a $50 free park pass for the year." Some people, they can only go like I think we have like 2 or 3 days a year in Indiana that they open up either free fishing or the state park pass is free. They're going to give you this pass, and maybe that's what kept you from going to the park and being outside. I don't know, but it's a good idea. He's doing great work. It's a family-run operation. He just started this past December, but prior to, and his heart's in it, man. He's all about it.
Good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So like I said, I mean, like I said, I feel like we could talk all night. I don't want to fucking bore people, but I got a lot of shit that I do on a regular. So,
All right. So what do you think, what's the next 6 months look like for you? What's the next year look like for you?
my ass back in shape. And part of that is, we talked about it, earlier, getting older, and, I finally broke down and decided I needed to get on some fucking TRT. I had my levels all checked, between the VA um, and my family doctor and another group, and they're like, "Hey, your shit's out of whack." And I think that's part of why I'm way off on my workouts. Like I seriously do 2 workouts a day and killing them. And it just fucking dove, man. And I had it all checked, and I am way low on all that stuff. So getting all that back in, had my blood test all ran through, and so like I said, just getting my health back on track. Like I said, daughter's moving on from the young Marines, so she's taken into some wrestling now. And I think that's a good venture for her as long as she's got a goal. That's what I'm worried about. I just want to make sure she has something to aspire to. Trying to tame my psycho dog that I've adopted. I don't know. I've got a lot of things. I just hope I can stay sane in the midst of it.
All right. Well, maybe episode 50, I'll bring you back, man, and check on your progress, man. See if you've.
God, I hope I'm further along. I'll be sad when.
All right. So, Cory, thanks, brother. This was cool.
Yeah,
it was different, and it was a good conversation, man. So I'm glad you allowed me and the listeners of the podcast, man, this opportunity. So that's it, man. I just want everyone at the podcast, please share this episode wherever you can. Go ahead and go to notsospecialpodcast.com. Help us out at the Miles Gregarius Foundation. You'd be part of the impact, please. And that is it, Cory. We are feet dry. We are return to base. Thanks, everyone.
Squad 7 vehicle are taking fire on primary and secondary positions, requesting